Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Most farmers know this as a complete fact. A bumblebee is considerably faster than a John Deere tractor. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the ranch. Here we go with Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. It's wet out there. Look out. Don't slide in a puddle. Thank you very much, the lovely, the great Kate Smith, and God bless America. Good morning, everybody. I'm Zeb Bell at Zeb at the Ranch with my water wings on over here in the studio in case we have an encroachment of water flooding the studio. And we thank our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, our major sponsor, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley. And, of course, our dear friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service. Get rid of your garbage. Call 734-6969. Now, for those of you that listened yesterday, I am going to tread very, very softly and be very, very careful about what I say as I say, good morning, Gina.
Good morning, Mr. Zeb Bell.
I've been married now for 42 years. And one of the things I have learned about Deanne when she has said headache, like you said yesterday, is to do either one of 2 things. A, leave for Taiwan, or B, leave for Taiwan.
Well, you didn't leave for Taiwan, so we're good to go.
Well, I was cautious when I called because even though there's a distance of almost 40 miles, I said to myself, Self, you'd better tread on this ice because it's got a crack in it.
And wearing the water wings today, I really like that.
You ought to see this. I'm sitting here with my little shortsies on, my Speedo, and my water wings.
TMI, that just painted a mental picture. And which, by the way, I just have to say, our prior phone conversation, now I want a number 10 supersize. Okay.
Hey, I'll tell you what, though. When you said TMI, too much information, it even made me sick.
The mental picture.
There's an ad on TV, and I'm sorry we're holding everything up here this morning, and I don't have time for it, but there's an ad on TV for the hotels, and I can't think of what it is right now, where the guy is laying in a pool, and he's a captain, supposedly, and what a revolting, skinny, scrawny guy that is to represent the male gender. I mean, come on. Get somebody that looks like he's been outside and done something.
Who do you want, Arnold Schwarzenegger, then or now?
No, I tell you, I saw an ad with him playing ping pong, and please, don't do that to me.
Well, we're going to segue into this. We have Rotten on for the pledge, and Mr. Michael Rogers on.
Very good. Rotten, go ahead, save us, man. Give us the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I want to tell you something. I appreciate your emphasis on those words, and we did that at Lunch Bunch, too, under God. Thank you, Rotten, and say hello to that lovely, sweet, shy, retiring, beautiful wife, okay?
You don't know her, do you?
You're a dead man.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I could hear, honestly, in the background, with even the mic off, when Gina laughs, there is a laugh that would put Phyllis Diller to shame. I love it. I heard it. Oh, my goodness. We got to sell some camper shells right now, and the place to go is Save on Shells with Anthony and the rest of the crew at 1835 Overland in Burley. Oh, my, protect your stuff. See, if you don't have a camper shell on a day like this, your saddles and tack and groceries and tools and everything's going to get all wet. Yuck! Have a camper shell from Save on Shells. I'll tell you more about them in a minute. Here's MichaelRogersWeather.com.
Got rain for today and tonight, sunny clouds for tomorrow, 54 for the high, 44 for the overnight low, make that 40 for the overnight low, and 63 for the high tomorrow. Wind will be with you all tonight, and also for tomorrow. That's your weather. Enjoy it. It's the only weather you got.
That's right. Quack, quack. Here comes a duck. Look out. Hey, Save on Shells at 1835 Overland and Burley. They've got the new ARE camper shells. I'm telling you, folks, I love my camper shell I got to cover my bed of the pickup. You will, too. Stop in and see the different models they've got there. Why are you waiting? Why are you putting it off? Your fishing rods and reels, everything, protect them. And they've also got a fantastic selection of used shells and installation parts and service. How do I know so much about Save on Shells? I'm telling you, folks, I bought one there about a year and a half ago, and the service was fantastic. And they are the best in working with you to find just what you're looking for. Save on Shells, 1835 Overland and Burley, 312-1525. Public service note. Doug Manning sent this in. The Burley Cleanup Day is on the morning of May 17th with a free hot dog roast in Centennial Park. You got to bribe them. You got to give them food. They'll clean up. And it's going to be at 10:30 in the morning. And he would appreciate it if he could come on the air sometime and talk about it. So, Doug, anytime, give me a call, and we'll harangue you a little bit about some Western trivia or whatever. But anyway, the Burley Cleanup Day on the morning of May 17th, starting at 10:30, and they're going to bribe you with a free hot dog. Don't forget Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Oh, my goodness, they got the prepaid gift cards. Go in there and give those to a friend. Maybe you've got a friend that wears all rumply crumplies, and you're trying to clean up their act a little bit in a very subtle fashion. Give them a gift card and say, here, boy, would this be great for you. How can you be offended when you get a free gift card? At Daryl's Cleaners, and they'll look just like they stepped out of the showroom shelf or whatever. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Really nice people. You stop in and see Kevin and Cindy today. Also, I want to remind you about SafeLink Internet. You know, they've been around now for over 16 years and counting, and getting bigger and bigger and better and bigger and better and more reliable and faster internet. Wow! These folks are good. How do I know? Because we've had them in our house, what now, for 6-7 years? Absolutely phenomenal. Call and get on one of their programs. 677-8000 is the number. Idaho's number one choice, SafeLink Internet. You give them a call today. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Gina, it's time for the slurp of the coffee cup, the tip of the coffee cup. And go ahead and play that great big ugly sounding slurp, if you would, please.
That is so good.
There you go. I tell you what, that was one of my better moments. Anyway, congratulations. Ron Ellis from American Falls is going to be one of our tippers of the coffee cup, and Kelly Withers of Western Waste, the other this morning. So I hope they have a really, really good day. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant. Hey, by the way, our next lunch bunch is going to be on May 22nd. I had to look at my day planner. And you can stop in anytime, all the time, for breakfast, lunch, dinner, whenever. Oh, yeah. I love the menu. And I am not just giving a commercial. I love the menu. Yes, sirree. They're located at 611 Overland in Burley. They've got gift cards for your hungry friends. And they have a kids eat free on certain days. You're just going to love it. It's a great, great place to go. Thomas and the rest of the crew, they really serve you. Yep, service is the key. Great food, menu items. Oh, my goodness. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. Good morning, caller. You are on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. They just issued another alarming climate change warning this morning that oceans are going to rise. We've got to take some drastic action, despite all the evidence that proves that we're actually into cooling and so forth. But I ran across a quote. Are you familiar with Michael Crichton that wrote Jurassic Park?
Yes.
And other novels?
Yes.
I think he summed it up really well, Zeb. He said, whoever has the power in society determines what can be studied, determines what can be observed, determines what can be thought. Scientists fall in line with the dominant power structure. They have to, because the power structure pays the bills. If they don't play ball with the power structure, you don't get money for research, you don't get an appointment, you don't get published. In short, you don't count anymore. You're out.
Well, I'm going to just say this about so-called climate change, Adrian.
The power structure, the science doesn't make any difference.
No, that's right. I'm just going to say this about so-called climate change, global warming, whatever terminology the lefties want to throw at it, including the Times News op-ed staff, who absolutely thinks the rest of us are Neanderthals because we don't believe in it. I'm just going to say this. I've followed climate change for the last 6 years, the supposed climate change. I have worked with many of the top professors and top climatologists and meteorologists around the country. I have talked to Joe Bastardi. I've talked to many other people on this program, as you know, and they are sitting back wondering why this administration primarily is pushing and really pulling for something that is so absolutely absurd, and it's been proven now for the last 17 years the Earth is not warming. As a matter of fact, we're going into a severe cooling trend, and you, as a doctor of agronomy, you, as a man that studies the values of CO2, know better than anybody else as to how much better the world would be with warmer temperatures for growing food and keeping the populace fed.
Oh, absolutely. We don't do near as well with cool climate than we do warm, and the extra CO2 is actually helping fertilizing the crops without any additional commercial fertilizer inputs.
That's exactly right. And that's why I value your opinion. And you've been crying in the background for years about how phony the Al Gores and the phony climate change, global warming, etc. is. And I thank you for your call. And we're going to keep hammering it right here on this program, Adrian. Dr. Arp, I thank you for your call. Thank you so much.
You bet. Have a great day.
You bet. That man has been right on it right along. And to those that have scoffed at him, well, you were wrong. He is right. Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Go to the light. Go to the light. Yes, they've got all the incandescent light bulbs. They've got the outside lighting. They've got the lamps. They've got the CFL bulbs. They've got all your cords, cord ends, and fuses. They have what you're looking for, electrically speaking, right now. So stop in. They threw open the doors about an hour ago, and they say, come on in. Ramsey Heating and Electric. Really good, folks. At 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. By the way, today, Gina, are you right there by the microphone?
Yeah.
There is a very special birthday today, and you know this man.
Oh?
Yes, you do, and he is one of our great listeners on this program, and I want to do something right after this commercial very special for this birthday boy that is celebrating, I believe, Dan, isn't it his 89th birthday today? And I think that gave you a clue as to who it is, okay?
I think I do know who it is.
All right, we'll be right back. Valley White Home and Ranch, don't forget, perfect gift for Mom is a Mother's Day spa giveaway. She's going to love if she wins that free 1-hour massage from Sublime Touch. Oh, she says. Yes, she'd love to have that. And you know, there's always great gift-giving ideas over at Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Montana Silversmith Jewelry and all the summer clothing is in there. And if she likes to garden, holy buckets, can you have a field day going in there and getting just what she's looking for. Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert, wishing your mom a very happy Mother's Day. Gina knows, you've figured it out now, haven't you?
I'm pretty sure I know who it is.
Go ahead and give the name, and if it's wrong, I'll say who it really is.
Russell Smith?
It is his birthday today, and so I think you and I, together on the count of three, should say, happy birthday, Russell, a great patriot. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Russell! Russell Smith's birthday today. What a great American. Thank you so much. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I know a man that's running for Minidoka County Sheriff, and he would like your vote on May 20th, and that's Ken Menzel. This man, as your sheriff, would enforce the law based on respect for individual rights and a commitment to the safety of each citizen, and actively seek cooperation between all local law enforcement agencies for maximum crime prevention and enforcement results. And he wants your vote on May 20th for Minidoka County Sheriff Ken Menzel. And he says he'll ensure that everyone's voice is heard if he becomes the Minidoka County Sheriff. Ken Menzel for Minidoka County Sheriff. Vote May 20th, paid for by Elaine Stevenson, Treasurer. There you go. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to get into this story. The Supreme Court of the United States says, yes, you can pray before public meetings. Now, this has just absolutely teed off all these folks on the left that don't want prayer, don't want God in our lives, don't want any reference to anything biblical. But the Supreme Court said, yes, you can pray before a public meeting. And the Alliance Defending Freedom, that's on our program every Monday at 9:30 with their various attorneys, etc., and Jordan Lawrence was the man that led the charge in front of the Supreme Court to try to overturn this negativity against prayer. He won. And he has been on our program many, many times, and I'm very proud of him for what he's done. And we should all applaud the efforts to be able to stay free in our beliefs. However, there are other very serious anti-Christian danger signs going on as we speak. At Eastern Carolina University, a chemistry professor. Now, I got to giggle about this a little bit because this is so stupid. A chemistry professor at Eastern Carolina University threatened the graduates going up at the dais to speak at their graduation ceremony that they better not say God or they better not thank God for anything in their life. Well, first of all, a student can thank anyone he wants, or her. And you can say God. You can say I want to thank God for all the abilities that were given to me, etc. And for a chemistry professor to threaten these students and say, you better not say God, how dare he? Well, it got so bad at Eastern Carolina University with this imbecile's threats about you can't mention God or thank God that the administration finally told the guy, hey, back off. Back off. And he did. But, here's the deal. There was another problem. I don't know if you heard about what happened in Broward County, Florida. But a 12-year-old boy, now listen very carefully to this. A 12-year-old boy in Broward County, Florida school had been given permission. Listen to those words. Had been given permission to read his Bible during free time. Like a study hall, etc. And by the way, when did they take Bibles out of the library at school? I mean, I'm really asking about this because I can recall when I was going to school at Fort Atkinson High School in Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin, there were many copies of the Bible in a theology section at our library in the school. Well, anyway, he had been given permission to read his Bible during free time by the principal. By the principal. But the teacher, I love this name, Swarnia Thomas, his teacher, Swarnia Thomas, Ms. Thomas told him to stop reading the Bible and put it away. Well, the young man, 12 years of age, called his dad. And his dad said, no, you do not have to put your Bible away. You can go ahead and keep it there and read it only during the free time, which he did. And this teacher went about 300 miles up in the air ballistic and really chewed out the father. Well, it turns out that now the family is going to take legal action if Broward County School doesn't back off and apologize for the way they've treated this 12-year-old boy. What are your thoughts? I personally would fight back. I would never have my child be told that they can't do something that had already been given permission to by the principal. And I would never back off on saying, that Bible, free time, that's yours. You go ahead and keep doing it. We'll support you. Or we'll homeschool you. I can hear a mic on.
I honestly, good for the parents for seeking legal action. This boy isn't doing anything wrong. And if it's true to the fact of he's just reading the Bible in his free time after his homework is already done and everything, then teacher, back off.
You know, Gina...
He's not a troublemaker. He's not causing havoc in the class. So teacher, you go sit in the corner.
He is a very, from what I've gathered from the news stories that I've followed, this young man, his name is Rubio. And he's very respectful 12-year-old, very polite, very congenial, and very dedicated to reading his Bible. It was a gift from I believe it was from his grandparents. And for this teacher to treat him like he's a low-life student, she says, I told him to put it away. And I told him he's reading a book that's opposed to the curriculum for public schools, and I won't allow it in my classroom. Well,
when is the Bible opposed to the curriculum in public schools?
You know, that's my question, and I really want to know the answer to this. Have all school libraries, whether it's Burley, whether it's Rupert, whether it's Twin, whether it's Haley, Wood River, I don't care, have they taken the Bibles out of the library to the point where that is no longer considered a book worthy of being in the library and to be read and studied? I'd like to know that.
I honestly think that we should maybe call around to the school districts and ask them point blank, do you have a Bible in your library?
I'm going to.
Then we need to call all of the public libraries, Burley, Rupert, Hayburn, Twin Falls, all of the public libraries, and see if they have that as well, along with the Book of Mormon and all of the other religious books that, if you're going to have one, you got to have them all, which is, hey, fine with me, but you better have the Bible in there too.
But I'm sick and tired of a teacher, and I mean this, stepping over her bounds. In other words, stepping out of bounds and creating a problem like this and creating a sinister feeling with that 12-year-old that the Bible is wrong and the Bible is hateful. How dare this woman? And I really hope, and I mean this when I say this, I'm going to stay on top of this story, and I'm going to try to get his father on the air next week. But I really do hope they go after the teacher. I would like to see her lose her job. And I mean that in all sincerity. There are people that should not be in the school system.
Let me ask you this, and it may or may not be in the news story. Is this woman Christian or another faith?
It does not sound like she has any adherence to anything Christian by the way that she came across and the way, in some of her quotes, she demanded that Bible never even be opened. I cannot verify that, and it's a good, fair question, but I don't think in the news story that I have I can verify it with the information that's perceived here.
Okay. We've got a phone call, and then we need to do the Capitol Press.
I got to do that right now. And are we cutting out again this morning? Do you want another line?
I think it's because of the line, the phone line. Maybe it's a little wet or whatever, but it's kind of crackling and popping, so we need to reestablish.
I'll tell you what I'll do. When we get the Capitol Press, I will speed dial and call you right back.
You got it.
Okay. First of all, Travel Lube Supply, 1050 West, 203 South of Hayburn, 438-8730. Number to call, again, 438-8730. They can clean your air filters and save you money. That's a key right there. They can save you money. And they've got all the bolt bins. They got all the bolts, metric and standard. They got all the oils. They got everything, the tools. What are you waiting for? Jim McCall and the rest of his staff, nice people. Travel Lube Supply, they deliver the goods, 438-8730. It is time for the Capitol Press Ag Minute, and it is brought to you by Lennox Home Comfort Systems through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland in Burley. Here now, the Capitol Press Ag Minute.
Okay.
How's that?
I don't hear any popping or crackling, so that's good. Let's roll with it.
Okay, kid, thanks. Let me know if you do. Thanks.
Will do.
All right.
Allowing customers to donate money in participating stores. Coupons for milk will be distributed through food banks, pantries, and community kitchens. The program is a partnership between the National Dairy Council, which is funded by dairy farmers, the Milk Processors Education Program, and Feeding America, the largest network of food banks in the country.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
Hey, don't forget this Thursday night at 6 o'clock. I said the wrong time. 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock. Zeb, what's the matter with you? You're invited to a meet and greet hosted by District 27 legislators, Speaker of the House Scott Bedke, Senator Dean Cameron, and Representative Fred Wood, including, of course, the Governor Butch Otter and Lieutenant Governor Brad Little. Going to be fun. Sweetheart Manor, location 217 South Highway 27 in Burley. Thursday night this week, May 8th, 6 to 9, hors d'oeuvres and friendship and a lot of refreshments. Going to be great. We'll see you there Thursday night. Thank you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Jeb.
Sir.
Russell, I want to wish him a very happy birthday. God bless that man.
I agree. I concur wholeheartedly. I am honored to have people like you and him as my friends and lunch bunchers. God bless him. I hope he has a wonderful day.
I'd follow a man like him through hell and back to get to what we have to get done.
Well, you already did because of the way you opened the door the one day. Everybody got scared, so you did follow him.
Okay. But, you know, take them teachers like that about the Bible and that in the classes. I would have a little deal to say, okay, we're going to go to the back room and we're going to have a talk.
Yep.
And one of us is going to walk out okay, the other one's going to have a black eye.
Yeah, why
have her fired so fast that she couldn't have the time to pick up her books.
Well, you probably watched the story on the news already this morning, but Al, why in the world do Christians have to take this garbage that's being heaped upon them by this very left liberal society, whether it's Eastern Carolina University with a chemistry professor threatening the students, or whether it's this teacher threatening a 12-year-old boy? I'm sick of it, and it's time to stand up, not turn the other cheek anymore, and fight back.
Well, they better start doing some checking on some of these teachers and that, because if they don't, they're going to wind up just like in 1940s in Germany when they had the book burning out there in public square.
You're right.
Do we want that?
There you're right. There you're right. I agree with you. Thank you, Al. God bless you and Polly. Thank you.
Bring the boat.
All right, Al. Thank you. Caller, I'll be right with you. I want to remind everybody, too, about our friends at Maisie's. Oh, my goodness, Penetron by Maisie. Whew. Wow, we got a hot line there all of a sudden. Hope we're all still good. Penetron Soil Conditioner by Maisie, a 20-year proven record of increasing yield and quality of all Idaho crops. Speeding germination, reducing crusting, improving stand, stimulating root growth, and I love this one, microbial activity, and building soil structure, too. Don't forget, low-cost Penetron saves on irrigation water. Thus, the water savings alone will pay for the cost of the product. There you go. Penetron treated crops, larger crop yields, better quality, increase your crop's performance with Penetron by Maisie. You contact your fertilizer dealer and crop advisor today and get the real Penetron by Maisie. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb.
Hello, Tony.
Everything is fine here. You know, we've got black power, we've got white power. The only thing that's lacking is pastor power. Now, if the pastors don't get their congregations motivated to take care of stuff like this, we're not going to have any religion left in this country, and that's a fact.
Tony, I'm not going to argue with you at all, and I'll stand behind what you said. I'm very proud of the pastor of my church that stands up and speaks out and sticks his chin forward for the Bible and religion, and I'm proud of him. But I will also say there's a lot of milquetoast weak knees involved in and behind the pulpit that don't speak up, and what you said is exactly true. Sooner or later, they're going to be replaced by the liberal left.
Yeah, it's going to happen, and it's happening rapidly, especially under this lame-brain president we've got.
There seems to be, and I dare somebody to prove me wrong, a severe and very intense attack on Christianity and going to church on Sunday morning, having morality, families all getting together and breaking bread and praying at the kitchen table. There seems to be a real push against that. And I, for one, hey, listen, I'm 66, and if I go down fighting here on this program for what's right, so be it. I'm not going to back up.
Well, I'm 84, and I'm still fighting for it. So let's keep going.
All right, Tony, I tell you what, I'd have you on my team any day. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. I tell you, I really admire that, man. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. In just a minute, I'm going to talk about the VA. There is a big mess with the VA right now, and I know some of you are very protective about the VA here in the state of Idaho, which is fine, because I'm not condemning all aspects or all locations of the VA. But in general, there are some problems with the VA and the treatment of our soldiers, our veterans, the backlog of treatment or no treatment at all for our veterans, and even deaths that have been occurred because of the no treatment. The VA needs a change at the top, and that is through the Secretary Shinesky. And this administration absolutely, I think, is at fault for what's happening right now. And I listened this morning with great sadness as I heard many, many stories early this morning at about 4:15 on a news story about the VA, and now the American Legion has called for the dismissal of Secretary Shinesky, or Shinseki, I should say. I said the name wrong. I apologize. And while they're waiting for a cleanup campaign within the Veterans Administration, more vets are waiting and dying for care. And I think this is absolutely ridiculous, to the point where it's a crime. While some of these vets are waiting for care, while they have fought for their country and now put life and limb on the line, the people that are stonewalling and not making that care available are getting bonuses through the VA. And this is despicable. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, don't forget, we talked to Eli yesterday at Berry Equipment and Rental. And they're still looking for some mechanics. Quality mechanics. That's right. They're looking for quality mechanics. And they've got for sale a DL250 3-yard loader, perfect for dairy use. And that's over there at Berry Equipment and Rental. Whoo, baby, have they got the equipment. They've got those great big Doosan loaders and excavators, and they've got the Coyote tractors, and they got the Walker lawnmowers. The list goes on. And right now they got for sale this DL250 3-yard loader, perfect for dairy use. Oh my, you better check it out today at Berry Equipment and Rental, and 3 locations to serve you. One, of course, on Addison Avenue in Twin Falls, the other at South Lincoln and Jerome, and the third on 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Great locations to serve you, Berry Equipment and Rental. You stop in and see them today. All right, your turn. Come on, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And also want to remind you, too, that Speaker of the House Scott Bedke, my dear friend, urges you to vote in the primary election on May 20th. Scott is very concerned for Idaho and its growth and prosperity, and he's concerned about the future of the United States of America. And he urges you to exercise your patriotic duty and vote on May 20th. Stand up and let your voice be heard on that very important day. And, of course, Speaker of the House Scott Bedke, District 27, urges you to vote on the 20th, and paid for by Representative Scott Bedke of Oakley, District 27. Thank you. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. As I have a little repair work to do on the one headset, my bubble fell off. I got these earset bubbles, and one of them just fell off. Anyway, we've got it all fixed. I want to talk to you, too, about Seattle. Ooh, my. Listen to what they want to do in Seattle, Washington. The mayor, Democratic Mayor Don Murray, has announced his plan to gradually increase the minimum wage to $15 an hour. $15 an hour for a minimum wage job. And I'll guarantee you this is going to come back to haunt him, the city, and all the jobs and the employers in that area. It is going to cause all kinds of problems and could lead to businesses leaving the city of Seattle. Now, at $15 an hour, 8-hour day, $120 per day, $600 per week, $2,400 per month, $28,800 per year for a burger flipper and a front room sweeper, $15 an hour. You are going to see inflation in that city of Seattle run rampant. You are going to see jobs, minimum wage jobs, gone, cut, adios, gone out the door. And this whole thing is just going to come back, and even the small increases in the minimum wage can be devastating for low-skilled workers and tend to hit minorities the hardest. The people that are begging and looking for those low-level entry jobs, they won't be there. Once again, I hear the clip of the mic. That means a voice from heaven is about ready to expound.
Well, the Washington state minimum wage, if I am correct, is already at $9.23 an hour.
I believe so, yes.
You take into consideration the sales tax in the Western Washington area. Now, with Washington, they don't do an income tax. The majority of the money that the state raises is through sales tax.
Yeah.
Now, the last time I knew sales tax in the Seattle area, because it's dictated by the city can set their own sales tax rate, it was at 8.9%. It probably is a little bit higher than that now. I'm going to probably take a stab and say 9.3% sales tax. So you increase the minimum wage, and then you're going to add the already high sales tax on that. And you can't afford a burger anymore. You can't go to Dick's Drive-In. You can't go to all of the other, famous Seattle places and be able to afford a meal.
What is wrong, my dear, over at the main studios, with the old philosophy that you and I grew up with of supply and demand? You do a good job, you get paid money. You do a poor job, and you are either fired or you're pushing a broom. I absolutely, and here's the thing, Gina, it affects the radio business. It affects the employees that are working part-time at a radio station. It affects the people at a burger flipping place. It affects the people at a farm supply store. It affects everybody in the area to the point where here's a question that's never addressed, and I'm going to ask you. You start paying $15 an hour to the minimum wage low-entry jobs. What about the people that have been there and been faithful to your business? Then you have to inflate the prices of more wages to them, and you have to cut back somewhere, and the low entry jobs are going to be cut off.
Amen. And for the people who go out, they make themselves an allowance and say, okay, this is how much I have to spend, for frivolous things. So maybe I'm going to take my significant other out to dinner, and so that is your fund that you use for that. Well, now that they're going to have to, if they decide that they want to go out, they're going to have to be setting more aside in that fund, which, times are tight as they are, so a lot less people are going to be going out, which in turn is going to affect the supply and demand chain, which, as you mentioned, which is then going to affect the employer, who's going to have to lay off more people, which then is going to in turn increase the unemployment rate.
That's exactly bingo, unemployment, and then of course with more unemployment also comes a dole-out system. system of welfare and the recipients of those out of work.
And who is paying for that?
Bingo, you and I. And, here's the thing. I got to do the weather forecast, but we'll talk about this right now with the inflationary cost of trying to enjoy a night out. You and James and Kennedy, Deanne and I, I'm just going to say that you can't, and tell me I'm wrong, if you want to go out and have a nice meal and maybe go to a movie, you are looking at $100 bill.
Absolutely. You can't even go out to dinner anymore and not spend $50.
There you go. I got to pay the bills. We've got a weather forecast right now that we have to do with our dear friend Michael Rogers, weather.com, and it's brought to you by Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center at 382 North Overland and Burley. Minor emergencies, major care. The doctor will see you now, not in 4 or 5 days. Ruby, be quiet, please. I'm on the air. Bad dog, bad dog. Anyway, don't forget, they're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 9, Sundays 1 to 7, and they take care of all the ear infections, break, sprain, strains, urinary infections, cuts, rashes, sore throats, everything. They can take care of you at Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center, 382 North Overland and Burley, 678-6996. Here's Michael Rogers with the weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers for MichaelRogersWeather.com. Got a mess for today. You're on the backside of a cold front. What does that mean? Well, temperatures are cooler. All the weather action is taking place on the backside. And, oh, by the way, yes, you got wind with that. So you're going to see rain for much of the day and also for tonight. You come out of it tomorrow and temperatures are going to be warmer. 54 for the high today. Right around the upper 30s, mid-40s for the overnight low. And then sunny clouds tomorrow, 63 for the high. Traveling today, southbound, U.S. Highway 93. You can expect to run in the snow starting from Wells all the way down to Ely and also all the way down toward Alamo, Nevada. Be careful today. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. Brought to you by Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center at 382 North Overland and Burley. The doctor will see you now, not in 4 or 5 days. Once again, a reminder, Lennox Home Comfort Systems, gas furnaces, air conditioners, and heat pumps. Your family will enjoy the comfort. Just stop in and give a call to Ramsey. I'm choking to death there for a minute. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459. Gina, we were talking about costs, and people laugh and they say, oh, $100, come on. No, seriously, you think about it. Where I live, to go either to Burley or to Twin Falls, we're looking at 21 miles either direction. Okay, you got to figure in your mileage at 50 miles. It takes 50 miles to go to and come back in round figures, okay? Then you got to figure your cost of your meal. So you figure the cost of the meal, and if you want to have a nice meal with your family, you got to be looking at $20 a plate. Do you not? Minimum.
Yeah.
All right.
Depending on where you go, but yeah, your average is about $20 a plate.
All right. So
$20 a plate for you and Deanne.
You've got your $10 to $12 in fuel. You've got your dinner, which is $40. So you're at $52. Let's round it off. You've got your tips. So let's just say you're up at $60. Then you go to the movie and you're at $70. You have a treat. You're at maybe $80. And then on the way home, maybe you stop and buy something else. You're going to shoot the better part of $100 to go out one night with your lovely bride and, or in your case, Jim. I didn't call him lovely. And and it's a good thing, too. But you're going to shoot $100.
Well, okay, so you figure it's on average for you and Deanne to go to a movie. It's $7.50 a piece.
Yep.
So $14 right there. $20 a plate times 2, $40 plus tip. We're looking at about $48. So we're already up there. I've already got it calculated at right around $85 just for you and Deanne to go out, and that includes gas, tip, fun and frivolities, and everything else.
But, here's
just for one day.
And look at the inflation that's going to be caused if we go ahead and raise these minimum wage. Everything is going to be looked at a proactive stance on the menu. Everything is going to go up, your cost of your theater tickets and everything else, because they've got the cost of business going up. And we look at the inflationary factor, and then I'll go back to something else I want you to comment on. Why should people that have been dedicated to a business, like you've been dedicated to working there at K-Bar and Cat Country.
Yep.
Why should you have these people come in at entry-level jobs and be paid almost as much or more than what you've been paid, and then you, in turn, retroactively have to say to the employer, I want a raise? This whole thing spirals out of control.
Oh, it does, and I know of many people who actually work at the state level who are in that position where they have been there dedicated for well over a decade, and then the new entry-level people come in and they're making the same, if not more, than the person who's been there, for 10 plus years. And so then you go to the state and you're like, okay, well, it's my turn to get a raise, and so it's just this vicious cycle. And going back to Washington State, their minimum wage right now is $9.32 an hour.
32.
$9.32 an hour. And the sales, you know what the sales tax is in the Western Washington area?
I don't have that here.
9.5%.
Woo! Wow.
9.5% is the sales tax in the Western Washington area. Auburn, 9.5%. Bellevue, 9.5%. Burien, Des Moines. I mean, I was sitting here looking at this. Everett's, 9.2%. Federal Way, 9.5%.
Why don't you just round it off at 10% if you're going to figure the cost and inflation?
Exactly.
Keep the figures roundabout. But I'll tell you something. A lot of economists that contributed to this story about Seattle raising the wage to $15 an hour, they said, quote, better that one city's job market crash than the whole country's.
Yeah, well, and if Seattle wants to be the tester on this, hey, Seattle, go ahead and go for it. But you are going to be tanking yourself, not only for the tourist industry, but for the restaurant industry, everything. Just
you know what? There may be a lot of people standing on street corners with empty Starbucks coffee cups.
There could be. There could be. And so, it's like if Seattle wants to be the test market for the $15 an hour minimum wage, by all means, go for it. But the city is going to hurt for a long time afterwards.
I think the minimum wage, honestly, should be at $5, and I'll tell you why. Then let's see what they do. Let's see the effort they put forth. Let's see the drive and motivation that they show their employers to get raises and go higher up the food chain. Why should we be providing somebody $15 an hour, which, as I said already, equivalates to the point where you're talking about $28,800 a year, and it's not fair to the other employees, and they haven't proven themselves.
Exactly. I think that, you have to prove yourself. At 3 months you get an evaluation. At 6 months you get an evaluation. At 9 months you get an evaluation. And each time, if you're doing well enough, then the employer will incrementally increase your wage.
That's exactly right.
It should be. But when you're increasing the minimum wage, you're automatically increasing the expenditures, and it's not a win-win situation.
Supply and demand, and I think that we need one word, and I got to do some commercials, but I think you'll agree with this. One word has been taken out of our American society and our business ethic, and you know what it is? Competition. Competition breeds for bigger, faster, better, cheaper, more economical, whatever words you want to say. But competition drives the capitalist system. And now with a gimme handout system from the government, competition's been taken out of our society.
Competition has been replaced by monopoly.
There you go. Boy, we're in agreement this morning.
I know.
All right. Hey, don't forget Mother's Day's coming up this weekend, and Burley Glass at 1029 over. Wait a minute. What am I doing? I'm on the wrong page. Can I start that over? Can we have a rewind? I'll give you a rewind sound. Okay. Back up. Here we go. And just pretend you didn't hear that last part, okay?
Okay.
The Drift Inn. 545 F Street in Rupert. Mother's Day is this weekend, and you better call now and make your reservations at the Drift Inn at 436-1300. They're going to have prime rib and finger steaks and butterfly shrimp and chicken cordon bleu. Excellent food. Love this place, the Drift Inn in Rupert. Along with the Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. Oh, my goodness sakes, all kinds of gifts from Mom. The great books and the poem books and all the precious moments and the figurines, everything for Mom and Mother's Day at the Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. And last but not least, the Goodie Shop, 133 West Main in Burley, 647-0106. Treat your mom to a goodie basket. You can build your own or select one that's already done. And the mugs, the Mother's Day mugs filled with candy kisses and brownie treats. Mom's just going to gather you up in her arms and say, I love you. The Goodie Shop, 133 West Main in Burley. There you go.
Is that what you did with your mom?
Years ago, yes. My mom spoiled me. She really did.
He's my little dude, man.
I miss my mom. I really do. I really miss my mom and the conversations we used to have on the phone and everything. And, of course, she called me by my real name. She was the only person in the world, the only person in the universe that I would allow to call me by my real first name.
Yeah, well, she was
and if you say it on the air, you might as well become a greeter at a local merchandise store.
It's right down on the tip of my tongue.
Don't go there.
But see, moms have a special place in the hearts of their children, and especially, honestly, I have to say, for their sons. And we just treat our sons, I don't know, my little guy is my little guy, and so. That's
right. And then when I got to be big and fat and tall, she said I was still her little guy. I like that.
You will always be.
There you go.
Always be.
Hey, by the way, don't forget all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, my. You get free peace of mind tire protection. Whatever the road throws at you, from potholes to nails, if your tire is damaged from any road hazard, they will replace the value of your tire. You better believe it. And the best of tires are right there at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, my goodness, all the tires for your car, your pickup, your SUV, your horse trailer, boat trailer, the list goes on and on. And they've got easy credit plans available. And don't forget the very best in brake service, I guarantee you. And the best in front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. It's all there. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, good conversation this morning, first hour, and thank you very much. And next hour at 9:06, we're going to have Joe Messina. We haven't had Joe on the phone for a long time, and he's going to be talking about the destruction of marriage in this country. It just doesn't have the meaning and the net worth as it used to. And then at 9:30, we're going to talk to Michelle Saylor Tucker, and she's going to talk about the big food wars going on between McDonald's and Burger King and Taco Bell and all the other ones. That's going to be kind of interesting in their new advertising programs. Then at 10:06, Dr. History, and then at 10:32, we're going to talk about safe food storage with Grace Whitman. Don't touch those peaches. Look out! That jar doesn't look good. We're going to talk about that. Stay tuned, Zeb at the Ranch. I'll be back in 6. Holy cow, it's wet outside. We need the moisture, and we are getting it. Welcome back to Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, and, of course, some of our great advertisers that include Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho,
Always at your disposal. That is true. And get on the route service and get rid of your garbage. We've been on their route service with Western Waste Services for about at least 7 or 8 years now. And, man, I'll tell you, the service is great. Always at your disposal. And don't forget, too, they've got the dumpsters in various sizes. Going to be cleaning out that shop, or you're going to be cleaning out that garage or whatever, or the basement. You better call them and check it out. And don't forget, too, they've got the Go Mini portable storage units. Check it out. Always at your disposal. Western Waste Services. Call them today. Ladies and gentlemen, also I want to remind you about some people that are really there in a time of need, and that is Hanson Mortuary with Joel Heward and his entire family, 710 6th Street in Rupert. And believe me, the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity in serving you and your family when there's the passing of a loved one. And, for pre-information, pre-funeral information, you don't have to run into their office. What you can do is just give them a call at 436-5636, and they can travel to rural towns and churches and meet with you, okay? Remember that. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636. Well, we're just about ready to get Joe Messina on the line here momentarily, but I want to remind you, too, there's a young man running for Minidoka County Sheriff that wants your vote on May 20th, and that's Ken Menzel, actively seeking cooperation between all local law enforcement agencies for maximum crime prevention and enforcement results, and always wanting to maintain the highest ethical and performance standards for himself and the entire staff. He wants your vote. Bachelor's degree from BYU, detective undercover narcotics officer, patrol supervisor. The man knows his business, and he wants your vote for Minidoka County Sheriff on May 20th. Ken Menzel, paid for by Elaine Stevenson, treasurer. Right now, let's go to the phone lines, and what do you mean,
I tried both lines, left multiple messages, no answer.
This is like the old song, Home on the Range, where seldom is heard a discouraging word.
On the range, yep.
Well, listen, I've got a discouraging word for you, lady.
Got another phone number?
I gave you two.
Yeah, he's not answering either one.
Now, that just absolutely puts a hole in my boat.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Tap your hide.
Well, yeah, and people out there in Radio Land, they don't understand that we put a lot of time and effort. I do every day, and I'm not going the holy eye, but can you imagine how much time it takes me every day to line up all these different guests that are nationwide guests, track them down, visit with sometimes their professional handlers, if you will, get it all established, and then they back out on you in the last minute. That just really teased me off.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened, so I left messages and told him I would continue to try him back, and I gave him the toll-free number, and so hopefully I can get a hold of him, but as of this moment, I cannot.
You were being so sweet.
I'm trying.
When in all essence, you know me and my personality sometimes off the air.
Yes, so I'll continue to try, so.
All right, well, then we'll just turn it into an open forum right now and beg, borrow, and steal any thoughts that you folks out there in the audience might have as far as giving me a call, and we'll talk about any subject matter you want. Joe Messina was supposed to be on the program with us from back on the East Coast. Joe's gone. We lost him someplace. I don't know where he went, but we'll certainly entertain your phone calls. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I am waiting for your calls that I absolutely know are coming in, I also want to remind you about a dear friend of ours, and that's Senator Lee Hyder, Senator for District 24. The best always stand the test, and Idaho Senator Lee Hyder is one of the best. His diligent perseverance has paid off for all of us as being a senator for the state of Idaho, and he wants to remind you, vote May 20th, and believe me, vote for Lee Hyder, Senator District 24, paid for by Lee Hyder, and he says, come on, he's done a lot to help everybody with the right to hunt and fish and trap amendment and other bills, including the limits on payday loans, etc. Senator Lee Hyder, District 24. Vote on May 20th. All right, give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, there's a big doings, and Gina's going to be there. Is James going to come with you on Thursday night or not? Are you there? Hello?
Another message.
No, that's all right. I was just curious, are you going to have an escort with you on Thursday night, or are you coming solo?
Oh, I may or may not have an escort. I have no idea. I might come solo. I'm not sure.
James, I'll bet you when he gets all decked up in a tuxedo and everything, I'm talking where we're probably going to see GQ magazine.
Oh, he's very handsome when he dresses up. You betcha.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, I would.
Well, you can. I won't.
Like a suit. This is not like a tux kind of affair, is it?
Oh, no, I didn't mean to insinuate that. I mean, I just assumed...
I'll dress up.
I just assumed that you would show up with 6 white horses pulling a pumpkin carriage and all dressed up for the ball.
You know, if I could make that happen, I would. So the wheels are turning. Let me think about that one.
You know what would be really neat, though, is... What year pickup is that pickup that James has got? A 32?
Oh, yeah, the 1932 Ford pickup. We call it the Old Man.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, it looks like Camo from Duck Dynasty.
Yes, and, because that particular truck, the Old Man, he was actually the old Ford parts pickup for the original Ford dealership in Twin Falls.
You're kidding. You know, but now here's a great commercial. Somebody out there that needs somebody, like they're advertising for a tuxedo place or whatever. You have James pulling up in front of a high, posh looking like castle-like home in a tuxedo and everything. And I mean, James gets out. He's a big guy, and he gets out of that 32 Ford. I mean, that would sell it, man.
I think so. And, you know, we honestly love that little truck. Although, Old Man does not like me. It's like James has to be the gentleman and actually open and shut my door because I can't do it myself.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Is it comfortable in the cab of that truck?
No.
Oh, that was short, sweet answer there, babe.
No. Well, you know, those trucks were not built for comfort. They were built for the utilitarian purpose, and it shows. Weren't
you telling me a couple of years ago on Easter when you met us for breakfast that sometimes your feet drag on the pavement?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you go through a lot of shoes, don't you?
I do. So
I can just see you pulling into a movie theater with a sparks flying, and there goes another pair of Nikes.
It's like, oh, Gina, she just burnt rubber right there.
Oh, dear. All right, let's get some calls so we can stop all this frivolity. Don't forget, Thursday night, this week, Thursday, May 8th, there's going to be a great big invitation to you to a meet and greet hosted by District 27 legislators, Speaker Scott Bedke, Senator Dean Cameron, and Representative Fred Wood, for the Governor, Butch Otter, and Lieutenant Governor Brad Little. And it's going to be at Sweetheart Manor, 217 South Highway 27 in Burley, this Thursday night, May 8th, 6 to 9, hors d'oeuvres, refreshments, and a lot of nice people, and we're looking forward to seeing you there. Okay. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Again, I want to mention that we were expecting to have Joe Messina on our program from back east and talking about the destruction of marriage in our great United States of America, and for some reason we can't find him at either of the numbers that were given to us. I have a question for you folks out there in the audience, and I know we got a lot of people that are really into politics. Trey Gowdy, congressman from North Carolina. I've got a lot of respect for this young man, and I think Trey Gowdy is one of absolutely the best people that we have in Washington, D.C. He has been appointed by John Boehner to head the committee to get the facts on Benghazi. And I was reading some of the notes that are coming out of Washington this morning, and one headline was this, and it was written by Neil Monroe. Listen to this headline. The White House raises the finger to Benghazi inquiry. And it has been suggested that nobody on the left volunteer to be on the committee, and ask Nancy Pelosi to not even appoint a Democrat to that committee and make it strictly partisan against the Republicans, and try to hold their feet to the fire in trying to find all the information. I say go ahead. Democrats, if you want to act like little spoiled kids, if the Democrats want to act like they don't care about the 4 American lives that were lost in Benghazi, if the Democrats don't care that justice is served and people that committed these heinous murders are arrested and tried and convicted, etc., then show your colors. And Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, and the rest of you, how dare you be so disgusting and despicable and not want to get to the bottom of what happened in Benghazi and why. And I think that Trey Gowdy will do his thing and show the Democrats for what they are, liars and charlatans. over this issue with Benghazi. What are your thoughts on this? And, one of the things that I talked about earlier this week was Tommy Vietor. Remember him? I don't know if you remember seeing this or not, but he was being interviewed by Fox News' Brett Baier. And last week, the former National Security Council spokesman Tommy Vietor scoffed at questions about Benghazi during an interview, and he said, "Dude!" The word dude just makes me sick. He said, "Dude, that was 2 years ago." And they're trying to push it under the rug. What are your thoughts out there in Radio Land? Benghazi, even if it was 2 years ago, 20 years ago, or 2 weeks ago, Americans lost their lives. And why? And nobody has been brought to justice. Give me a call quickly, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to hear your opinion. Besides that, you would be saving me, because we thought we were going to have a guest this hour, and it didn't work out that way. So give us a jingle on the landline, please, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Senator Dean Cameron running unopposed for the Senate in District 27 on May 20th, but he wants you to go to the polls and vote. We appreciate the job that Dean Cameron has done for us, and now let's show our appreciation and gratitude, and everybody do your patriotic duty and go vote on May 20th. Dean, of course, chairman of the Finance Committee and also on the Commerce and Human Resources and Environment Committee. Dean is the second highest ranking member of the Senate, and he urges you to go vote on May 20th. Senator Dean Cameron, District 27, and paid for by Idaho Senator Dean Cameron, urging you to vote on May 20th. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb, this is a little different topic that I wanted your opinion on it. I was really for the Keystone Pipeline, and now I have a question mark in my mind, and it was one of the news programs, I can't remember which one, but I was watching it a few days ago, and they were interviewing a farmer on there, and he said, he did not want the Keystone Pipeline, and he did not want it coming through his farm, which would just wreck his farm, and he said they want to use the right of eminent domain, and it's a foreign country, and he said, we have contacted them, and is the U.S. going to get the oil? And they openly say it's going to go to China. And he goes, this is America. How can a foreign country come through our land with eminent domain to get their oil to a port to sell it to China? And I hadn't looked at it that way, and it's really put a question mark in my mind. And he said Canada refuses to sign anything that says that the U.S. would get the oil.
Okay, now, first and foremost, I have not, and I've got a file right here on Keystone, I have not anybody in the government, I haven't had anybody with the Institute for Energy Research, Dan, and a bunch of other people that are on my program almost on a weekly basis. I have not had one single person tell me that the entirety or the large percentage is going to be going to China. Most all of them said that oil will be processed and refined for use here in the United States. In regards to your question about the pipeline and eminent domain, there are in that particular part of the country many, I think literally thousands of spiderweb type pipelines all over the properties in the Midwest, Kansas, all the way Oklahoma, etc. And this is not the first. And it seems like certain various people are making a big deal about this pipeline, which would be the safest and most unobtrusive pipeline that's been built through the Midwest. So I don't know how to answer your question until I interrogate or ask the farmer the questions myself. I'd like to find out the name and get him on my program, and we could ask exactly what his negatives are and really what his thoughts are and what made him feel the way he does. Myself, personally, I think if we don't get the pipeline, it's going to be a negative for all of us in this country. But that's just my thoughts right now, unless I'm proven wrong.
Well, this just put a doubt in my mind, and I was so pro it, and then when I think about that, I do think Canada should have to say the oil, at least the big bulk of it will go and stay in the U.S. because it is a foreign country, and the right of to take land from Americans for a foreign country to sell it to other foreign countries, that does not sit well with me at all.
Well, it doesn't with me either, the way it was phrased, and that's why I'm going to do some more research into it. And if you can find the farmer's name or anything, it was
on one of the major news deals. They were interviewing him, and he was talking about the soil. And
I'll see what I can find.
It was or something like that. How he didn't want it, and he said that the farmers that he was representing couldn't get a commitment out of Canada that the oil would come to the U.S., and it was really upsetting when I listened to it, because I thought, man, foreign countries should not be able to exercise the right of eminent domain against Americans in our country.
No, and I'll tell you something else about China, and I think you and I are going to be strictly on the same page here. There's so many insidious things going on behind the scenes with our monetary system and the borrowing and everything else. Literally, the old Tennessee Ernie Ford song that he had back in the early 60s, I owe my soul to the company store. We owe our soul right now to China. All these things that are going on under the table with China and other countries as giveaways and land purchases and things that are going on in Texas, things that are going on in New York State. I don't trust this administration. I haven't trusted administrations for about the last 20 years in their sellout, bailout, and giveaway programs to other countries for America. And I think we all need to find out more about what's going on, not only with China, but also many other countries.
I have one more comment, Zeb, while I got you on the phone. I hope there is global warming. Personally, I love it. I love this rain out here. It is so good for our country. Warmer climate with more rain would just make Idaho and our agriculture just boom.
Honestly, let me ask you something. Are you a farmer or a rancher?
I'm a rancher. I raise cattle.
All right. Really, this hocus pocus, this negativity against global warming is so ridiculous, and it's such a falsehood, because like Adrian Arp, Dr. Arp, that's been on our program many, many times, has talked about the seriousness of us going into a global cooling to the point where a lot of regions of our country and also Canada and other places wouldn't be able to grow crops and feed the needy. I mean, my goodness, if we're going into a global cooling, we're in bad shape. A global warming would be a good thing for the world.
Especially for us cowmen, because even when we irrigate, it can't get the high spots. We're not a flat irrigated level field, where our grass grows is often up and down. And boy, this rain is just a godsend today. And I'm just loving it, and I'm thinking, if this is global warming, give me more of it.
Well, yeah, that, and a young man many, many months ago called me up, and he said it and stated it succinctly and very sweetly and shortly. He said, there is no such thing as man being in control of the climate. He said, God's hand is on the thermostat, and that's really the truth.
Yes, I do agree.
All right, sir. God bless you for your call.
My comments for today.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Very nice man right there, and I appreciate it. I got to pay some bills here real quick, and then we'll take another call. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, with the Flex Steel occasional tables and the Flex Steel chairs, the Flex Steel furniture. Oh, man, this is good stuff. You got to get in there and check it out at Lee's Furniture and More today. You better believe it. They are such a great company. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, ready to serve you. What an office staff. They all know all about furniture. They all know all about couches. They all know all about carpeting. They all know all about recliners. They all there can serve you. And don't forget, too, window coverings, 30 to 40% off. Keep the heat out. And they've got custom draperies and shutters and Roman shades. Everything at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Oh, my goodness. And also, I want to remind you about Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center. My goodness, don't you worry. The doctor will see you now, not in 4 or 5 days. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 9, Sundays 1 to 7, and walk-ins are welcome. No appointment necessary. And they'll take care of your headaches, sinus infections, breaks, sprains, strains, skin care, cuts, rashes, you name it, they can help you. You better believe it. The doctor will see you now for your minor emergencies with major care. Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center, 382 North Overland in Burley, and the number to remember, 678-6996. We were supposed to have Joe Messina on the program for this last half hour, and Joe is away without leave. We have no idea where he went, and it kind of puts us in a bad perspective here. We depend on these people to be where they're supposed to be by their telephones so we can get them on the air and share the information, and he will hear from us after the program. By the way, the Burley Cleanup Day is on the morning of May 17th, and if you go to help out at Centennial Park at 10:30 in the morning, you're going to get a free hot dog. They're going to have a free hot dog roast. You better believe it. They'll bribe you to come work. They give you hot dogs in Centennial Park. Burley Cleanup Day starting at 10:30 on the 17th. Don't you miss it. And we'll try to get old Doug Manning on our program and talk more about that in the near future. Lennox Home Comfort Systems, I want to remind you again, don't forget Lennox Home Comfort Systems with our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Gas furnaces, air conditioners, heat pumps, all of this. Your family will enjoy the comfort. All you have to do is just get a hold of Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Gina, what say we try to get our next guest? Let's go for... You've already got her?
Yes, sir.
Well, see, God works in mysterious ways.
Yes, he does, doesn't he?
Yes. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, this young lady has been on our program quite some time ago, as a matter of fact. I remember the name, Michelle Seiler Tucker. Did I say that right, Michelle?
You absolutely did.
All right.
It's a pleasure to be back.
All right. It's nice to have you back on the program. Holy smokes, it looks like the fast food wars are heating up, and a lot of people are taking pot shots and advertising against McDonald's. What's going on for the breakfast wars?
Well, obviously Taco Bell has a lot of confidence and a lot of confidence to go after the giant McDonald's. And it's very interesting. When I first saw that commercial, I fell in love with the commercial, actually. But they obviously have a lot of confidence, and I thought that they could go after McDonald's, and I think it's been pretty successful for them so far.
I really thought it was interesting. First time I caught the commercial, and they said, "Hi, I'm Ronald McDonald, and this is my son, Ronald McDonald Jr." And then they started talking about Taco Bell. And you can just imagine what the CEOs in advertising at McDonald's, they're cringing and putting on new deodorant, I bet.
Absolutely, absolutely. Taco Bell decided to really, step out of the shell, no pun intended, and think outside of the bun and really become disruptive. And that's what they did. They disrupt McDonald's, and because of that, they've gained huge, huge, huge popularity and publicity, and I think it was a great move on their behalf.
In the wars, if you will use that word, wars, between the fast food giants, whether it's Wendy's or whether it's Taco Bell or Burger King or McDonald's, how down and dirty in the trenches does it get, Michelle?
Well, obviously, it's hard to say what happens behind the scenes, but it's getting pretty ugly in front of the public with them battling back and forth. But like Donald Trump says, all publicity is good publicity. Bad publicity is good publicity. So they're getting both of them are getting their fair share of publicity at this point.
When you sit down and figure out the ads, and you and I both agree and concur that the ad that Taco Bell is running right now with all the Ronald McDonalds and the different faces, personalities, etc., it is hitting a home run. I wonder financially, how bad is it hurting McDonald's for the breakfast wars right now?
I would love to have the inside track and be able to answer that. I'm not sure. But, who knows? I will tell you, I went to Taco Bell and got breakfast. A lot of my friends went to Taco Bell and ate breakfast. So who knows? But I will tell you, at the end of the day, it's about publicity, and they really are generating publicity, and they're really disrupting the market, and they're really causing people to think about Taco Bell in the morning versus McDonald's. And that's good. I mean, we talk about that in my book, Sell Your Business for More Than It's Worth. I talk about disrupting the market and how to create your own economy and don't do what everybody else does, but go out there and disrupt it and know your competitors and disrupt what they're doing and always bring the focus back to you. We talk about that in my book.
You know, you have an excellent book, Sell Your Business, and I've got a copy of it right here, as a matter of fact, on my desk from the last time that you were on my program. But we're talking not millions, but we're talking billions with a B. Billions of dollars are at stake in the enticement and the procurement of an audience to buy breakfast at a certain fast food place. And boy, I can see where McDonald's or anybody else wouldn't want to relinquish being the king or queen of that market.
Absolutely, absolutely. McDonald's is now giving away free coffee, and they're fighting back. And, you know, I don't see this war of the breakfast ending anytime soon, do you?
Well, I don't, but talk a little bit about the ad wars themselves. Now, you're very close to this because in your book, you did a lot of study about Sell Your Business for More Than It's Worth. They must be hiring some really sharp ad men and ladies to really come up with these different ads, like the one where it says, "Hi, I'm Ronald McDonald and I go to Taco Bell." I'm surprised that idea hadn't been tried a long time ago, to be honest with you.
You know, I am too, and sometimes the most simple of all ideas is the best, and a lot of times many people don't think about it. But that's a pretty simplistic approach, isn't it? I mean, to say, "Hi, I'm Ronald McDonald," I mean, how simplistic is that? Well, nobody's ever used it in the past, either because they didn't think about it or they thought it was too simple.
Well, now, talk a little bit about business in general for your book, award-winning and best-selling book, Sell Your Business for More Than It's Worth. Are we seeing right now, Michelle, a lack of entrepreneurship in this country because of this administration and some of the rules and the many regulations? What's the status of business that you see right now?
I don't think at all that we're seeing a lack of entrepreneurship. I think it's just the opposite, that we're seeing more entrepreneurs than ever before. We have CEOs and CEOs and CFOs leaving corporate America because there is no job security. And everybody once thought there's job security with corporate America, Fortune 500 companies, etc., but people are becoming to realize that there's not. So we have a lot of people leaving corporate America, purchasing businesses, and going into entrepreneurship. We actually have more people starting businesses than ever before. I'm actually going to be speaking at a 3-hour event this evening with children entrepreneurs from the ages of, I believe, 8 all the way up to 16, and these are children who've already started businesses. So I don't believe entrepreneurship is dying at all in our country. I believe, if anything, it's alive and well and even stronger than before. And because of government, we have to be stronger. We have to be more creative. We have to think outside the box, throw the box away, disrupt the market, and create our own economy. And we can't do that working for somebody else. So entrepreneurship to me is growing. We have more buyers than we've ever had before, and we have a lot of great sellers at this point.
Let me ask you this, though. We keep hearing rumblings, excuse me, like what happened in Seattle with Mayor Don Murray. He wants to implement a $15 an hour minimum wage. And I sat here in the first hour of this program this morning and I said, these people don't realize the cost of inflation and what it's going to do to the already prior workers demanding more raises to compensate for the new ones coming on at $15 an hour. And I see this as a slippery slope downhill to where a lot of jobs are going to be lost. What are your thoughts?
I absolutely agree with you. It is a slippery slope, and raising that to $15 an hour is going to be detrimental to a lot of small business owners and force a lot of small business owners perhaps out of business. I don't believe that that's the right route to take. And it's going to force people to do, hire independent contractors, which is also a slippery slope. But it's not good for our country. I don't agree with it.
When you talk to young people, and you said you're going to be speaking to a group tonight, I mean, what do you tell them? Give us a little taste of what the speech is going to be about. What do you tell them about the opportunities that are still available here in the United States?
Absolutely. I'm on a panel with other entrepreneurs, and what I like to speak to children about is to obviously follow their dream. There's going to be a lot of negative voices. There's going to be a lot of naysayers. Just stay true to your dream. But you really, I don't care how old you are, if you're 10 years old, you really need to follow. If you want to be an entrepreneur and you've started a business, you really need to do the steps. You need to brand yourself. You need to brand your company. You need to make sure that if you're selling lemonade, that you have the best product, you have the best lemonade on the block. You need to make sure that you have the best product in the right industry and people helping you. And it's kind of the same steps that I teach serial entrepreneurs who own their own existing businesses that I will teach to children, because it's all about following the right steps.
Let me ask you this. Is there a certain procedure that you recommend to young people, or even us old fogies like me, that they should follow if they're going to start a new business? I mean, are there certain pitfalls and elephant pits that they should try to avoid to make a business successful?
My big thing, Zeb, is I've always been a fan of buying an existing business rather than starting a business, because there's 27.9 million businesses in the U.S., and 5 to 6 million will be up for sale at any given time. And these are existing businesses with proven cash flow, proven track record, client base, employees in place, systems, etc. And startups, 90-95% of all startups will fail within the first 5 years. About 95% of them will operate in the red for the first 3 to 5 years. So it's very difficult to start a business. It's much more safer to buy an existing business, and in a lot of cases much more less expensive to buy an existing business with cash flow than it is to start a business. However, I certainly don't want to stomp on a young entrepreneur's dream of starting their own business, and many of these entrepreneurs I'm speaking to tonight have already started a business. So I believe in helping these entrepreneurs with their new businesses. But as far as leaving corporate America or leaving your job, in my opinion, it's always better to buy an existing business.
What is the number one pitfall of buying an existing business? Let's say that you're an entrepreneur from out of the area. You really don't understand the environment that the business is in. What's the number one pitfall you got to be careful of?
Well, it's hard to give you a number one pitfall, but I would say if you're looking at buying a business that's not represented with a good business broker, you're probably going to pay too much, and you might not receive all the intellectual property. So the number one pitfall is buyers overpay, and then they don't receive all the intellectual property, and they typically don't get a non-compete from the seller and or training. So those are the pitfalls to avoid.
Michelle, one of the things, of course, being in the industry, the advertising industry, I would imagine that you really, if you're going to buy a business, let's say it's a retail business, you really better understand and know, or have somebody working with you that understands advertising.
Absolutely. 95%, it's not just advertising. You have to understand branding. And 95% of businesses are not properly branded. There's five steps in branding, and you need to move from each step until you reach, obviously, the ultimate step, which is brand advocacy, and that's where other people are selling you and your products and your services. But you have to understand branding. The main reason, though, that I just want to point out that businesses fail is not because they don't have a good business plan or they don't have a good marketing plan. It's because they simply run out of money. Most business owners are undercapitalized. So you always want to make sure that you have enough working capital in order to survive the financial storm.
When you're looking for a business, whether it's a retail business or whether it's I don't care, a shoe shop, clothing store, ice cream store, or whatever, what are the things you have to look for in buying a business? And what about the owners of the business? What should they do to enhance their business for a possible purchase?
All right, so let's talk about the owners first. On the owner's side, again, they should really align themselves with a good, experienced professional business broker to help them position their business for sale. A lot of times we have to go in and we have to clean businesses up. We want to make sure that they're in a thriving industry, not a dying industry. We want to make sure that their revenue is not coming from just 5 customers, that they have a healthy customer base. We also want to make sure they have multiple revenue streams, not just one revenue stream, and we want to make sure they have employees in place. Mostly, the most important thing, Zeb, is that we want to make sure that their financials are in order, because most small businesses have really disorganized books and records, and we help them get their financials in order. So that's how we position businesses to sell. From the buy side, I always tell my buyers not to focus on industry, focus on cash flow. Meaning that if you want to make $100,000 a year, it's probably not going to be a yogurt shop or a coffee shop or an ice cream shop. But if you want to make $100,000 a year, then we need to look at those businesses that are generating $100,000 a year. You follow me?
I certainly do.
Are more cash flow specific versus industry specific.
Absolutely. You know, you come across as a very, and take this with all due respect, hard charger that really understands business and go for the gusto. And I can tell just by the sound of your voice that you really believe in our United States capitalist system.
Is that why you said take this with respect?
Yeah, because I think that capitalism and buying businesses and investing, we're getting away from that. And unfortunately, I think the younger generation, the millennials, many of them don't have the respect for capitalism and people like you that can teach how to buy businesses or how to set a business up and then sell it for a lot of profit. I think that's on the wane in this country, and I think it's sad.
I agree with you, and that's why I'm speaking in front of a group of youngsters today, because I do believe in buying, starting, etc.
Well, I tell you, the book, Sell Your Business for More Than It's Worth, is a must-read, and I certainly appreciate your coming on the air this morning and helping to stimulate a lot of people that business is not dead in America, and there's still a lot of opportunities. Final thoughts? Go ahead.
Business is not dead in America. If it was, you want to have 27.9 million businesses, and many of them generating huge cash flow, and we want to have more buyers than we've ever had before. To me, job security is dead. So I do believe in starting investing, but I believe in doing it the right way and aligning yourself with a professional. I encourage everybody to read Sell Your Business for More Than It's Worth. And I appreciate you having me back on the show, Zeb.
You are very welcome. Thank you very much, Michelle Seiler Tucker, and good luck again with that book. I love the attitude, and I love your kind of promotion of the American dream. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You bet. You too. Sell Your Business for More Than It's Worth, and I think it's absolutely a must-read. I've got a copy of it right here. You know, capitalism and the system that we live in, to work hard and achieve something. And I guess maybe in my case, I can sit here and hold a mirror up to me and say, they told me it would never work. The way I started this radio program, the way I bought the time, the way I created the sales, they said, oh no, it'll never work. Why, you'll starve to death. The first month that I started this business, I would have agreed with them. And now it has turned into a major part of my income during the course of a year. And I'm very proud of what we've achieved here on this program. Capitalism, owning a business, promoting a business, and possibly even going out and selling a business is still a major part of success in the United States of America. We're going to have a weather forecast right now, and the weather this hour is brought to you by Red's Trading Post at 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. Ryan and the rest of the crew always with all the information about guns, ammo, and the accessories, and believe me, they've got top-notch people right there that can answer all your questions. Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls, and right now here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers for MichaelRogersWeather.com. Got a mess for today. You're on the backside of a cold front. What does that mean? Well, temperatures are cooler. All the weather action is taking place on the backside. And, oh, by the way, yes, you got wind with that. So you're going to see rain for much of the day and also for tonight. You come out of it tomorrow, and temperatures are going to be warmer. It's 54 for the high today. Right around the upper 30s, mid-40s for the overnight low, and then sunny clouds tomorrow, 63 for the high. Traveling today, southbound, U.S. Highway 93. You can expect to run in the snow starting from Wells all the way down to Ely and also all the way down toward Alamo, Nevada. Be careful today. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
All right, Michael, thank you. Brought to you by Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls for the very best of guns, ammo, and accessories. It's Red's Trading Post. Don't forget, too, our dear friend, Representative Fred Wood, running unopposed on May 20th in District 27. Fred, of course, has been so valuable as a legislator for this area, and he will listen, always listening, and working for the people of District 27, protecting Idaho's water, create a positive economic environment. But he wants you to go to the polls and vote on May 20th. Show that you really care. Show the American spirit and vote on May 20th. Paid for by Representative Fred Wood, House seat in District 27. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, just a little extra thought this morning. We've got an occupant of the Oval Office, I wouldn't use the word president, that is incapable of making any kind of decisions, and the only thing he's got going for him is the fact that he wants to turn this country over to the United Nations to make decisions for him that he can't make.
This president, and it's not me saying this, Tony, but many news people, people that study what's going on in the news, have said for years that Barack Obama cannot stand confrontation. He cannot be a person on the hot seat. He doesn't have the temperament or the personality, and he has proven that with his go along to just get along attitude instead of thrusting himself into the middle of a problem and trying to solve it. And we do not have, in my opinion, ever in the last 5 years, a leadership quality with this Barack Hussein Obama.
Well, you know, the ones who are going to take a beating are these younger generations who are still asleep. They're too busy with their drugs and their cars and all the rest of the stuff. They just want to let the good times roll, but they're not going to roll for them. I think you and I, people our ages, have seen the best this country has to offer.
I don't want to think that way because I worry and I care and I love my grandson so much and I want the very best for them. I certainly hope that they have the opportunities that I've had, and I hope that they have the education to go out and try to capture those dreams and reach for the stars and attain their goals. And I certainly hope those ideas and those goals are not thwarted by a society that lumps them all together like a bunch of sheep, and they're not allowed to reach for the stars and to be highly successful. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope that they can reach for the stars. I hope somebody promotes them to go as high as they can go. But right now, day by day in this country, it seems like we're more concerned about everybody being the same, and that's not going to help a civilized society like ours grow.
You know, you're absolutely right, Zeb, and maybe the man up above will help us work our way out of this.
Well, we need help up above, and I'll tell you something, and I don't care who's offended by it, because if they are, that's their problem, not mine. We need to return to the basics of our religion and our belief system, because I'll tell you what, the more we get away from that, the worse this country is going to be.
Well, you're absolutely right, Zeb, and keep doing what you're doing. Maybe it'll sink in somewhere down the line.
I hope so, my friend. God bless you and Mary. Take care. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Zeb.
All right, sir. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, Gina, I got a question for you. Are you right there yet?
Yep, I'm here.
If you had all kinds of money in your purse,
Okay.
And we're going to go buy a business. What kind of a business would you want to get involved in? Would it be a radio station? Would it be a ladies' clothing company? What would you get involved in? I know what I would do, but I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Honestly, my goal is to eventually own a radio station. So
really?
Yeah. Because, well, that's where all of my education is. That's where, I've been doing this for 15-plus years. Yeah, that's what I do.
Well, in essence, to a smaller degree, I do. Basically the pitfalls of what I do here with the selling of the advertising, the organizing of the programming and everything is on a mini factor, the same as owning a radio station.
Yes.
And I love my work. I love being around what I do. But if I were to pick something else, and I know a lot of people would say, oh, my gosh, no, that's not going to make you any money. I would like to have a retail store of the best of Western wear. I've always wanted to have a retail store with Western wear. Boots, good quality boots, good quality hats, that type of thing.
If I was not going to be in this particular industry, I would actually start up like a little coffee sandwich shop, and then I would also sell my ceramics on the side, because that's my love and my hobby is making pottery.
Now, see, whoa, stop the bus. How long have I known you? It's been, 10 years? I never knew that you make pottery.
Oh, yeah, absolutely love it. I have a wheel, I have a kiln. I had it set up at a local business here before they went out of business. So it's just been packed away in the garage since the year that Kennedy was born in 2007.
I got thrown out of art class in high school because of a kiln and because of pottery. I blew up Mr. Blasius' kiln, and he wouldn't let me back in the class.
Go figure. What kind of a kiln? Was it a gas kiln or electric kiln?
Electric.
See, I've got the electric kilns, but it's not a high fire, and what I want to do is high fire stuff. So that would be either pushing some massive natural gas or do a wood fire kiln.
So you are involved in pottery, and you would make pottery for a retail resell and through your own little business. My goodness, I never knew you made that stuff.
Yeah, I did. I took, when I was in college, I made it a point that every year I took a class. I continued with my pottery because I loved it so much. So by the time I graduated, I was in the advanced 3 stage. They didn't even have a class, and I just went ahead and just signed me up for this one again because I want to do it.
No kidding.
Yeah, and so I absolutely loved it. So I've got, quite a bit of experience with pottery, and so that's what I would do. I would have my own little coffee shop sandwich store, and then I would sell my pottery in there.
Well, see, now, there you go. What you could do is have that up in front and have the radio station built behind.
Bingo!
There you go.
Except for all of the dust.
There you go.
All of the dust, yes.
Don't forget, Let's Ride, Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Oh, my goodness sakes, they're open Tuesdays through Saturdays from 9 to 6, and they've got all the ATVs. Holy buckets, open that showroom floor door. Why, they're all over. They've got them all. All the ATVs and the Can-Am side-by-sides and the rebates and great financing and all the dirt bikes and the 0% financing for over 5 years, and a service department that'll knock your socks off. They are absolutely the best. What are you waiting for? Stop in and visit with the nicest people in the world at Let's Ride. Definitely where the fun is sold. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Let's Ride. Hey, by the way, we know a gentleman that's running for Minidoka County Sheriff. 24 years of law enforcement, and that's Mr. Chris Jensen. He wants your vote on May 20th. Ethical and honest, experienced and dedicated, financially accountable, and believes in great security in our schools. 24 years, as I said, in law enforcement experience, and he absolutely wants to bring new leadership, a new vision, and a new direction to the Minidoka County Sheriff's Office by seeking the elected office of sheriff. That's Chris Jensen on May 20th. Vote for him, Minidoka County Sheriff, paid for by the citizens. For Chris Jensen, Barbara Jensen, Treasurer. There you go. And we are in the peak. We are in the middle of the furnace, if you will, the heat of the action for all the political action going on up until May 20th for the primaries. And don't forget, please get out and vote. Oh, my. Coming up next hour, we've got the one, the only, the great one, Dr. History, and his half-hour show. And then at 10:30 this morning, we're going to be talking to Grace Whitman with the Cassia County Extension Office. And tomorrow on the program, holy smokes, have we got a full plate of great guests tomorrow. We've got Doug Johnson from Colorado. We've got from back east attorney Gail Trotter, and she's always very outspoken and very interesting. Then we have Casey Givens going to be on the air with us tomorrow, and he's always a young man that's got something to say, and many of his articles have been published all across the United States. And then last but not least, one of my true friends, Indianapolis, Indiana businessman, Dave Bego. I always look forward to having Dave Bego on my program, and that's all going to be on tomorrow's show from 8:06 till 11 o'clock, so don't miss a minute of it. What do we got for music taking us up to the news this half hour? It's been kind of a shot day today with some of our guests not showing up.
Well, I was just going to do John Mellencamp unless you have something other that you want to do.
No, John Cougar Mellencamp. How come he dropped the name Cougar?
I don't know. But I always kind of liked John Cougar Mellencamp instead of just John Mellencamp. Here's my question. Is that really his middle name?
I don't know, but, he did drop it, and I wonder for what purposes, because I've got out in my pickup a whole bunch of those old tapes that I can't play now because everything's gone to the little DVDs or CDs, I should say. And
the MP3 players?
Yeah. And yeah. I can't play him anymore. John Cougar Mellencamp. I like his music.
Okay, well, that's what we've got.
All right. See you in 6.
You got it.
Welcome back. Hour number, what the heck hour number is this? 3. There we go. I had to look at my watch. Anyway, good morning. I'm Zeb Bell at Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today, 734-6969. By the way, quickly, when you think about life insurance, and you should, when you think about health insurance, and you should, retirement planning, employee benefits, you'd better think about Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Dean and Todd, always dedicated and responsive to your needs, and will help you. That's right. Give them a call, 436-4424. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Hey, are you getting hungry? I am. I'm starving right now, and I'll tell you what, the Chadwick Sports Grill at 139 West Main in Burley, what do they got for a special? Listen to this. Chicken teriyaki over steamed rice with veggies and super salad, just $8.95. Holy cow. You're going to love the food. You're going to love the people. You're going to love the environment. The Chadwick, 139 West Main in Burley, today with chicken teriyaki. Sounds really good. Let's see, what else have I got to tell you real quick? Oh, once again, I want to remind you about a meet and greet, and that is going to be at, of course, the beautiful Sweetheart Manor. It's going to be this Thursday night at 6 o'clock till 9 o'clock. You're invited to a meet and greet hosted by District 27 legislators, Speaker Scott Bedke, Senator Dean Cameron, and Representative Fred Wood, with the Governor, Butch Otter, there, along with Lieutenant Governor Brad Little. All of this at Sweetheart Manor, 217 South Highway 27, Burley, and it's this Thursday night from 6 to 9. Hors d'oeuvres, a lot of good people. You're going to enjoy yourself at the Sweetheart Manor this Thursday night. Oh, my goodness. Look who's standing out in the rain, getting soaking wet with a hawk quill in his hand and dipping into his ink little bucket, or whatever they called those things. Here's Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb. How are you doing this morning?
What did they call those? Ink wells, or what did they call them?
Ink well, I think.
Yeah, okay.
But that was before my time.
Yeah, right. Sure. What's going on with you this morning?
Well, I got a good old story. You know, we haven't talked about a good old outlaw, shoot 'em up, chase 'em type story for a while, so I'm going to tell you a little story about that.
Just the all-American boy stories.
Yeah, this is a good one. So, Okay, I want you to imagine the stars are glittering brightly in the sky above the town of Folsom, New Mexico Territory.
Okay, I'm watching them glitter right now.
All right. On the night of August 16th, 1899, the hour is just past 10 o'clock at night. The eastbound train was late. It rolled into the depot to take on coal and water at about 10:20 p.m. Now, while it was stopped, a kind of dark figure slipped up on the blind side of the train.
Mm-hmm.
The man swung aboard and hid himself in the shadows between the baggage car and the coal car. The train took off a few miles out of town. The train was rolling along mostly kind of flat landscape, not many mountains, but the man who had boarded at Folsom climbed onto the coal car and began crawling over the mound of black rocks. As he neared the front of the car, he drew the revolver that he had on his hip, poised himself to leap down into the cab of the locomotive. Now, his gang had broken up and he was alone. He was about to attempt something that a few others had ever even thought of doing in the Old West, if he could accomplish it. He was going to hold up a train single-handed. Now, he was already well known, but what happened tonight would assure that no one would ever forget the name of Black Jack Ketchum.
Oh, my.
So, Black Jack Ketchum, that's the guy. Now, he was born, actually, Thomas Ketchum in Texas in about 1863. He was the youngest of three brothers, the oldest of whom became a successful and well-liked horse trader in the area, so he was a good guy. Now, Tom and the middle brother Sam, they were cowboys, uneducated, kind of unstable, given to fits of rowdiness, if you want to call it that, troublemaking. They drifted into a life of crime, but didn't do anything too bad until about 1895, when they and several friends shot to death a local rancher by the name of John Powers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Powers' wife had actually paid to have her husband killed, and she got caught. So while she was sent to prison for her part in the crime, Tom and Sam Ketchum, they lit out for New Mexico Territory, so they got away. Now, about this time, the area on both sides of the borders between New Mexico and Arizona began to be plagued by the lawless activities of a gang known as the Blackjacks. Now, the gang took its name from its leader, a guy named William Blackjack Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how Christian came by that nickname, we really don't know. But for a while, his success as an outlaw was unquestioned. He and his men held up trains, stagecoaches, they robbed banks, post offices, stores. They shot it out with posses and citizens, and no one seemed to be able to catch him. And the task was made even more difficult because the ranchers in the area actually would help Christian and his men escape from the law on several occasions. Now, some of the ranchers no doubt liked and sympathized with the bandit and his crew, and that's why they helped him. And I think others just kind of were afraid of him.
Mm-hmm.
And so they wanted to stay on their good side because, back then you didn't want to make enemies of somebody that was not a good guy. So, but faced with this problem, New Mexico authorities appealed to Washington for help, and so a group of federal marshals arrived in the area, and they teamed up with the local lawmen, private detectives who were hired by the railroads and the banks, and they even got a troop of Mexican soldiers sent by the Mexican government because, you see, Christian, they'd been raiding across the border into Mexico, so they were kind of wanted all through that area, New Mexico, Arizona, Mexico.
Okay.
Now, Christian and his men might not have been guilty of all the outrageous things that they were accused of, but it's possible that some of these crimes were definitely committed by two brothers who were in that area, Tom and Sam Ketchum.
Uh-huh.
Now, about this time, Tom and Sam started riding with the Blackjack gang. Now, about this time, too, a posse caught up with the bandits near Clifton, Arizona, and it's not known if Tom and Sam were on hand for this fight, but it's certain that William Blackjack Christian went down because he was filled with enough lead that he assuredly would not get back up. So that was the end of William Blackjack Christian.
Okay.
Now, so some of the outlaws escaped, but now they didn't have a leader. So good old Tom Ketchum stepped into that spot. He assumed command of the gang, and he decreed that from there on out he would be known as Black Jack Ketchum. And he did become known far and wide. Now, the gang actually grew in numbers under Tom Ketchum's leadership, and for a while there was even an unofficial partnership with Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. But, according to the story, Butch himself thought Tom was crazy. He never trusted him.
Well, wait a minute, though. You bring up an interesting point. If the first guy that was Black Jack Ketchum got filled full of lead, why would the second guy want to assume the same name and have perhaps the same thing happen to him? He must have been crazy.
Now, there was a difference in names. Black Jack Christian, and this guy's Black Jack Ketchum, which... it really doesn't matter.
The gun doesn't know the name.
That's right. Well, anyway, like I say, they hooked up with Butch Cassidy's Wild Bunch for a little while. Butch never did trust him, didn't like him. And anyway, a few members of the Wild Bunch actually continued to ride with Blackjack. So, but after killing a postmaster who chased after them after a post office robbery, the gang kind of concentrated on trains, holding up several in the New Mexico, Arizona area. Now, none of the robberies proved to be very lucrative, and in fact, they did kind of a stupid thing following Butch Cassidy's example. On one occasion, the gang used so much dynamite to blow up the Southern Express safe that they pretty much blew the money up with it. So,
I love it.
Again, intelligence didn't reign very highly, in this group.
All right, but now stop right there, Dr. History, ye who knows everything. How does one ascertain how much is too much?
That's a good question. I'm assuming it's going to be trial and error.
We are making fun of people that blew up all the money, but you can't give me the answer as to how much is too much.
I know. I don't know. I guess they just figured, if a little is good, a lot is better. So they didn't get too much out of that deal. Just a bunch of shredded paper. So July 1899, they returned to New Mexico to hold up the Colorado and Southern train, and this time they got away with a pretty good haul, and they thought they were safe, and so they made camp one night in a draw. Well, unbeknownst to them, there was a posse led by a U.S. Marshal, and they swooped down on the gang's camp, and there was a pretty good battle going on, and the outlaws scattered. Several of them got seriously wounded. In fact, Sam Ketchum, Tom's brother and longtime partner in crime, was also shot up during the battle, and he was captured. Well, he was sent to prison, but he died from blood poisoning because of the wounds. So obviously he didn't get too good of medical care. So here we are, Tom Ketchum, he's alone now, and he quickly conceived of a plan to strike back at the forces of law and order, and it would be a bold move, it would be daring, it would show everybody that he was still the one and only Black Jack Ketchum, and still somebody to be reckoned with.
Right.
So again, his idea was simple, hold up a train by himself. So now we go back to the train. Okay, so Tom, Black Jack Ketchum, jumped down from the coal car into the locomotive, showing his rifle, and he called out to the engineer to stop the train. Well, neither the engineer nor the fireman thought it would be a good idea to argue with a guy who's pointing a rifle at him. So the engineer hit the brakes. Now, Ketchum's plan called for the express and mail cars to be uncoupled from the rear of the train, where the passengers and freight cars and all that was, behind them. So then he would force the engineer to run that part of the train on down the tracks a mile or two to a spot where, away from the rest of the cars, they would be able to deal with only the engineer and the fireman, and he could loot the express and mail cars just kind of at his own pleasure and his own leisure. Now, right away, it became apparent that something was wrong. The train had come to a stop on a curve in the tracks. Now, I don't know a lot about uncoupling or coupling train cars, but evidently, if you're on an angle or a curve, it's hard to undo the coupling of the train cars. So he couldn't get them undone. Well, while he was trying to figure out what to do next, the door of the mail car opened, and a clerk stuck his head out, trying to see what was going on. Well, Black Jack fired a bullet, and it ripped away this poor guy's jaw.
Oh, ouch.
Just caught him right in the jaw.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, the train's conductor, who's back further on the train, Frank Harrington, he knew what was happening. He'd been on robberies before. So, unknown to Ketchum, Harrington was making his way along the train with a shotgun. Now, he stepped into the open just a few yards away from Ketchum, leveled the shotgun. He pulled the triggers, both triggers of the shotgun, and an instant later, that double-barreled shotgun ripped into Ketchum's right arm and just destroyed the elbow.
Oh, my goodness.
So now the impact also knocked Ketchum backwards and down the embankment along the roadbed. I mean, you can imagine the force behind a double-barreled shotgun.
Well, I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah. So, like I say, it not only disarmed him, literally, or diselbowed him.
No pun intended there.
That's right. But knocked him clear off where the tracks were. Well, Harrington, he hustled the engineer and the fireman back aboard the train, ordered the engineer to get the train moving as fast as he could. So they take off. Ketchum, dazed by the pain of his wound and only about half conscious, he crawled into some brush along the tracks. And that's where he spent the night, drifting in and out of consciousness. Now, his horse was right close by, but he didn't even have the strength to go get on his horse. And he knew that the posse would be out searching for him, but there's nothing he could do. He was in bad shape.
Now, did he lose his arm at the elbow? How come he didn't bleed to death?
Well, it didn't actually blow his arm clear off.
Oh.
It was just a flesh wound.
You are hardcore, you know that?
I know it. Well, anyway, early the next morning, he obviously in great pain.
Yeah.
Ketchum heard a freight train coming along the tracks, and he found his hat and put it on the end of the rifle, and he waved the hat in the air to signal to the men on the train because he knew they were looking for him. And even then, as they came up towards him, he kind of pointed his gun at them, and they said, "Hey, we'll just leave you here, So he finally said, "All right." He says, "I'm all done." He said, "Take me in." Well, he was loaded on the train and taken into Folsom to the doctor, and the doctors there knew immediately that they couldn't save his arm, so they amputated his right arm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, New Mexico state law made it a capital offense to hold up a train. Though no one had ever been executed for that crime, when Ketchum stood trial, the prosecuting attorney pressed for a death sentence.
Uh-huh.
Well, so when Ketchum was convicted, that's what he got.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something. He couldn't stand at the gallows with both arms tied behind him.
He couldn't, and we're going to get to that. That's the rest of the story.
Oh, excuse me.
So, more bitter than ever, this now one-armed Ketchum awaited his execution, and so here we are, early on the morning of Friday, April 26, 1901. He's led to the gallows wearing a new black suit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, fate had one more unusual twist in store for good old Blackjack Ketchum. Now, and here's the quirk here. The lawmen in charge of the execution were inexperienced at these things.
Oh, boy.
They miscalculated the length of the rope they needed, and to make matters worse, after testing the gallows the night before with a 200-pound sack of sand, they left the sack hanging overnight so that the rope was stretched out even more. Now, Ketchum told his executioners as they fastened the rope around his neck, he told them, he says, "I'll be in hell before you guys have breakfast." And then he stood there with the black hood lowered over his head, and this is important, they pinned the vest, the hood to his vest.
Uh-huh.
And that's going to come to light here in a minute.
I see.
Now, there were no fancy gallows with a lever to spring the trap door, so a rope had to be cut in order to drop the prisoner through the opening.
Okay.
All right, so there's a rope, and here again, you kind of wish you had professionals doing this.
You kind of do, don't you? Because I got the feeling that Blackjack might hit the ground to running.
Yeah, so he has his hood over his head, and the hangman took a swing to cut the rope. Well, it didn't go with the first swing.
Uh-huh.
And so you can only speculate what must have been going on through his mind when he heard the first blow strike, but the trap door didn't open. Well, at any rate, the second stroke of the axe did the trick, and old Ketchum plummeted through the trap door. Now, here's where it gets tricky. The extra length of the rope meant that he fell farther than usual, almost so far that his feet touched the ground. In fact, so when he finally reached the end, the tightening rope that jerked him, it jerked so hard that instead of cleanly breaking his neck as intended, it tore his head completely off his shoulders. Now, here's where the hood comes in. The hood that was attached to his vest kept the head from falling and rolling away, but it was still, I guess, a pretty grotesque sight to the onlookers. And of whom there were many, because, this was quite an occasion in Clayton, New Mexico, and, everybody had turned out. So all the businesses closed down except for the saloons, and some of the people who witnessed the execution of Blackjack Ketchum, they were undoubtedly grateful for that exception, and after what they had seen, they probably needed a good stiff drink to bring him back to reality, or whatever you want.
There wasn't a whole lot left to him to bury.
No. They could have used a shorter casket, I can tell you that. They wouldn't have needed a longer one. I've actually got a picture in front of me of the gallows and Blackjack, and there's 4 men standing up on the gallows. It's kind of a blurry picture, but I can just see the gallows and the whole works right here in a picture.
And it sounds gruesome as heck, but I can just see the group. I'll go get his head, you find his arm. yeah. So that's Blackjack Ketchum, and I don't know if the town of Ketchum has anything to do with Blackjack. Well, was he up here in Idaho for a while?
Relatives still around, and in fact, I met a guy one day a few years ago whose last name was Ketchum, and I said, "Hey, I was just reading about your relative," and I was just teasing. I thought, "There's no way, this guy is related." And he looked at me and said, "How did you know about that?"
Oh my!
So this guy was from the Good brother.
I see. And he didn't have any rope burns on his neck, did he?
No.
Okay.
No, he was a good guy.
And he had both arms.
He had both arms.
Okay.
But that just goes to show you. Now, in years past, if you got hung and the rope broke or something, that was considered kind of like God's will that you shouldn't be hung.
Mm-hmm. It didn't happen often, though.
No. Although I will say, I just finished a book about Captain Kidd.
Yeah.
The old pirate. And when he got hung in London, the rope did break. He fell to the ground, but that didn't matter to the people over there. They just quickly put him back up on the gallows and threw him off again.
Yeah, somebody yells, "Redo!"
Yeah, they didn't wait around to say that it was God's will. They just quickly threw him back up and hung him.
I got to run, but I got 2 things to mention to you. Number 1, walking the plank. You ought to do a story sometime on walking the plank, because I've always thought in those pirate stories that walking the plank would be a gruesome way to die. I mean, what do? They load you up with weights and tie your hands and feet together, and you got to walk out on that plank, and then all of a sudden you're fish food.
Well, actually, this book I just finished on Captain Kidd, that was kind of a misnomer.
Oh, really?
Didn't really hardly ever do that.
Oh, so they just threw you in.
They had other methods, I'll just put it that way.
Oh.
To get your attention.
Hey, by the way, why don't you tell everybody about what's going on with dr-history.com?
All righty. The website is up and running. We've got probably 12 or 13 stories on there now lately, and you can go on anytime, day or night. Go to www.doctor, and then the little dash, history.com, and you'll go to our webpage, and you'll be able to click on any of the stories and listen to them again, or listen to some you haven't heard yet.
Okay, say it again,
Doctor-history.com.
Okay, and I'm going to keep plugging that every day on the program, too, and we'll tell everybody to listen.
And on your newsletter.
All right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, I promise.
Okay.
Well, thank you, dr-history.com, for an excellent story this morning.
You have a good day, Zeb.
God bless you, man. Thanks.
See ya.
I tell you what, I enjoy that segment. Dr. History. And go to that website, dr-history.com, and you can listen to all those old stories that we've had on. Excellent. Hey, by the way, don't forget, on Thursdays, we have a segment on my program called Cassia County School Days, and it's brought to you by 2 wonderful businesses. First of all, A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley, and they're having a great big spring cleaning sale, 20% off the entire purchase. Whoa, that'll save you money. And they've got all the toys and the books and the puzzles and birthday gifts, and all the gift wrapping is free. Oh my goodness, you better stop in there today. A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley, along with the Ambulatory Surgery Center. Continues to be the area's best place for outpatient surgery, saving the patients hundreds of dollars. Plus, plus you receive outstanding friendly care. The Ambulatory Surgery Center is the place for life-saving colonoscopies, arthroscopic knee surgery, many, many more. Please contact them today at 677-8888. Located at 1344 Highland Drive in Burley, the Ambulatory Surgery Center and A Child's World, bringing you school days in Cassia County on Thursdays. Oh, by the way, too, quickly, I want to remind you about Vicky's Country Garden. Don't forget 185 South, 600 West of Paul. And Thursdays at 9:12, we have Gardening for Idiots, named after me. And believe me, all your gardening needs are right there at Vicky's Country Gardens. And with Mother's Day coming up this weekend, don't forget to order your basket for Mom right now. She's got all the pre-potted baskets, or you can build your own. Hey, I'll tell you what, you better get over there. Give her a call, 438-5663, Vicky's Country Gardens in Paul. Thank you. We're going to take a break. I'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Don't go away.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much. Welcome back. Bill Baker is looking for his first term as Jerome County Commissioner, and Bill's expertise comes from 35 years as a career with the BLM, where he held the position as Twin Falls District Manager, and he was also responsible for annual budgets of over $20 million. He's fiscally conservative and believes in keeping budgets lean and balanced, and he will work actively and honestly towards attaining significant short-term milestones while guaranteeing meaningful economic development and stability for all the residents of Jerome County. He wants your vote on May 20th. Don't forget, he's committed to having the best and most efficient government that they can in Jerome County, and he wants your vote on May 20th, paid for by Bill Baker for Jerome County Commissioner. On May 20th, you get out and vote. Don't forget, too, real quick before we get our next guest on the phone, that Mother's Day is this next weekend. And I want to remind you about Burley Glass at 1029 Overland in Burley. Springtime, the right time to get new windows and make sure everything in your home is energy efficient. Well, Gentle Ben and the crew at Burley Glass can absolutely take care of all your window needs. Don't forget, installing vinyl windows, they are the best. Burley Glass, get a bid today. Call them 678-1459. And happy Mother's Day. Mom would love that. Burley Glass, 1029 Overland in Burley. And also K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 West in Heyburn. They've got everything. They got all your tools to get out there in the dirt and start fixing things up. That's right. All the best service, prices, quality parts to get your job done. All you got to do is stop in and see them. They're conveniently located 1 mile north of exit 208 on the Burley-Paul Highway. K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn. Wishing you and your mom happy Mother's Day. Right now, we'll say to Gina, do we have the lovely Grace Whitman on the phone?
We do.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Gina. Ladies and gentlemen, a young lady that is the extension educator for Cassia County, Grace Whitman. And Grace, I understand you're at home right now. Got a sick little one, huh?
I do. Seems like that seems to be what keeps happening to me all spring.
Well, we certainly hope.
With little ones.
I certainly hope it's not serious, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you still coming on the air this morning. But we want to talk about food and food storage, and a lot of people are involved in home storage of food and the canning and everything else, and having their own food pantry and storage. What do they need to do in the spring after a long winter of food that was not eaten? What should they be doing?
Well, they really should be taking an inventory of everything that they have left over from the winter. So if it's home canned foods, you want to be looking at, okay, how much do I have left? Do I really need to be canning as much of this item, such as peaches or, whatever they have that's in abundance after the winter season? And just looking at what they really need to be doing and cleaning out the things that are old. So, if it's home canned foods, you want to be looking at how old something is on the shelf. If it's more than about 3 years old, you probably really don't want it anymore. It doesn't have a lot of nutritive value. And the lid seals start to deteriorate, and so you can get some oxygen into the jars after a certain period of time, and that's something you don't want to mess with. And then with your commercially canned foods, you just kind of want to look at those shelf dates as well. If they've gone past the best by date, you kind of want to move those forward, get those used as soon as you can, so that you get the best flavor and color and nutritive value out of those as well. So it's really just about kind of taking everything off the shelves, cleaning those shelves off, and then really looking at what you have and what you need to use up and maybe what you need to get rid of.
Now, there's a danger there, isn't there, lurking on those shelves if they're really not cognizant of what to look for, maybe bulging the covers and all that kind of stuff. Well, give us some of the danger signs to look for.
Okay, so you really want to look for any cans that are bulging. Usually, bulging cans are an indication that there's some kind of bacteria inside the can, and so you don't want to consume that. Also, you want to look for cans that have any dents along the seam or the rim of the commercially canned foods, so that can also be an indication that you could be getting oxygen into the can and then therefore have bacteria in there, and so you might want to get rid of those as well. Rusty cans, you just want to inspect those really well to make sure that the rust hasn't penetrated the can. And then if you have frozen or thawed frozen foods in your canned foods, if they've gone frozen and pre-thawed, they could have poor texture. So you kind of want to look at that. Did you have that situation? I know I had that in my camper a few years ago. I left all my stuff in there and it all froze, and it really wasn't that great. I ended up having to throw a lot of it away just because the quality wasn't any good anymore. So, be looking for all of those things.
Well, now, when you talk about rust at the bottom of those cans, it'll form the rust. How do you know if it has or has not got inside the can?
Well, you should be able to look at those metal cans and see if the can itself has started to deteriorate from the rust. If it's a significant amount of rust and if it's anywhere near the seams of the can, I probably would discard it, just because the seams are the weakest point of the commercially canned foods. So you want to avoid anything that could get into that seam area.
Okay. Now, my mom, I never will forget, bless her, she was into home canning. I mean, everything from beans to pears to peaches, you name it. But you got to be kind of careful and very, very sensible about how you can things. Is it dangerous to do a lot of home canning if you don't really watch what you're doing?
It can be very dangerous, but it's also it's fun to do, and it provides a way for you to put up that garden that you have an abundance of. And as long as you follow the right safety precautions, your home canned foods are safe, they're enjoyable, and they're wonderful to use. But you do want to, brush up on the safety factors of home canning. You can take a class from an extension office near you, or you can, just get out a USDA canning guide and read the whole front of the manual. It tells you all the safety precautions you need to know. And then also, our offices, all the extension offices, are always welcome to questions. Just give us a call. We are more than happy to answer anyone's questions when it comes to home canning and food safety. Now,
Grace, in your home, where is the best place to store the food? Is it down in the basement, I would assume, where it's cool and shadowed and it's not in direct sunlight? Tell me.
Yeah. You want an area that exactly doesn't have direct sunlight, is kept fairly dark, and truly you want it to be kept between that kind of 50 to 70 degree range. You don't really want it to go too much above 70. You don't want it to go too much below that 50. Just to kind of keep it nice and an even keel. It's nice and cool. It's keeping everything, all of the nutritive value. It's not deteriorating the food too fast. And you don't risk freezing anything, and you don't risk getting it too hot.
Okay. Now, what about, there's a big push in the country right now, and quite frankly, I'm kind of getting into it myself, about food storage and being prepared. You never know when all the stores are going to be empty and the shelves are going to be looking for more food, but the trucks aren't going to show up. What kind of food does a person really need to store and be aware of? Do you have anything on that?
We do. We actually just put out a publication a few years ago called Storing Food for Safety and Quality. And at the very end of that publication, we talk about emergency food supplies. You can also go out to the national websites for emergencies, and they give you wonderful information about what to keep. Basically, you'd like to have at least maybe a 3-day food supply for every person in your household. If not that, you can even go up to 2-week supply if you'd like. That just takes more room for storage. Once you start getting into 2 weeks or more, you have to have a lot of room to store all of that food. So from the USDA and the Food Safety Institute, they just say a 3-day supply is what you should do for every person in your household. And that includes, you really just want to look at the foods your family eats. You don't want to put a lot of stuff into storage that they don't already eat, because more than likely they're not going to be really excited about eating it in a bad situation either. So, you want to look at the foods that they like to eat, canned soups, peanut butter, juice, peaches, all of that kind of stuff, tuna, chili, any of those things. You just kind of want to put back enough for 3 days worth of supply for every person. You also want to really be mindful of water too. Always having a lot of bottled water. I know around here a lot of people use the 5-gallon buckets and do water storage. You want to have at least 3 gallons of water per person stored up for the 3-day period.
Okay.
And then some of the other things that sometimes people don't always think about, having a manual can opener, first aid kits, different stuff like that. Matches in a waterproof container, just so that when you are in those situations, you and your family are prepared for anything that could come.
Well, now, wait a minute. Back up just a second here, Grace. Tell me a little bit about the 5-gallon buckets of water. How can you keep those sealed tight enough to make sure that the security on the water is not going to be impaired?
Yeah, no problem. There are what we call food-grade buckets, and they're sold at lots of different stores, and they have a nice sealed-down lid, and you put water in those with so much chlorine, and that, decontaminates the water and makes it safe for long-term storage. Mm-hmm. Usually we tell people to replenish that water every year, so that way it's always clean and ready to use. Mm-hmm. So some people like to do it that way. I personally just go buy cases of bottled water and put it in my basement, because I think that I don't have the space to store all of those 5-gallon buckets.
Well, the question I've got there
that you can get and use for water storage.
The question I've got there, I was told sometime by someone, and I can't remember when it happened or who it was. They said that the plastic water bottles that you buy in the caseload lots or whatever, little by little it erodes and it makes the water almost unsafe to drink. Is that true?
It can be. Again, you want to keep that bottled water in a cool, dark place, because the sunlight and heat can deteriorate the plastic in them. And then again, it's just like any food storage. You want to rotate it out. So you don't want to just buy 3 cases of water, stick it in your basement, and leave it there forever. You want to, after about 6 months, maybe use that case up and then replace it with a new one. So that way you're not letting it sit and letting the plastic deteriorate over time.
So you're almost practicing, like I read in your newsletter, like the food, first in on the storage, first out of the storage, right?
That's correct. Yeah, you always want to be constantly doing that. And even with your emergency food storage, that is something that you need to be very aware of too, is you don't want to just pack up this nice little food storage or your emergency packer or anything like that and then just let it sit. You need to be getting into it every few months and using the food that's in it and replacing it. So that way the food is never bad when something happens and you need to use it.
Okay, now a quick question. Along with your food pantry and the water and all the food and everything in your food storage area, what about like a propane tank and all that kind of thing to heat the food? I mean, where do you keep that and how much should you store?
They don't really get into that anywhere, and I don't really talk about it too much, but it is obviously something you need to think about, is how will you heat up that food if you don't have any power or anything like that. I know personally my husband and I have what we call, one of those camp stoves.
Right.
And then we always have at least a tank of propane on hand just in case you were to ever need it. Also, a lot of people have gone to purchasing generators for their homes so that they can run them. Of course, then you have to have the fuel, so you have to have enough stored fuel to be able to use it when you need to. So that's just something you and your family need to sit down and decide what is the best option for you financially, and make that choice and decide how much of that fuel you need to keep in storage.
Grace, when a young family, especially like you have some little ones, should they make some different plans as far as food storage? Like you've got a very young baby or something in your family, maybe the little Gerber bottles or whatever. I mean, how much planning does it take to make sure that the family's prepared for every member of the family?
Yeah, I think when it gets into the really young families, I think they actually have more work to go into to put one of these food storages together.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to think about your little guys and where they are out in their food cycle. So if they're on formula, obviously you're going to need to stock up on formula, but then again, formula has an expiration date on it. So you need to be aware of that and be, cycling it through so that you don't have formula that's expired. And then also, if they've moved into, pureed foods and stuff like that, do you have enough of that on hand? And if you were to have a emergency situation. Luckily for me, both my kids are a little older, so for the most part, they can eat anything that my husband and I would. But yeah, you definitely have to keep that in mind. Also, we do have a daughter with asthma, so we have to make sure that she has all of her medications so that if anything were to happen, then she would have what she needs in an emergency situation too.
Now, do you cover...
You want to make sure that if you have people who are on medications consistently, then you want to make sure that you have those in your emergency supplies as well.
Absolutely. Now, through the Extension office, are there books or pamphlets or flyers that you have available to tell everybody that's interested how to start a home food storage and water and all this?
Yes, absolutely. The publication that I was talking about earlier, Storing Food for Quality and Safety, I believe is what it's called. Storing Food for Safety and Quality. It's a Pacific Northwest publication that we put out just a few years ago. At the very end of that, it has a whole page on starting your emergency food supply and what to start thinking about, and then it gives you some websites to go to in case you want to dive deeper into that world of emergency planning. So that's a great publication to use to get started with that.
Now, you've got some clinics coming up too, don't you?
I do have some clinics coming up. I have a couple of clinics on, let me pull them up here. I have some food preservation clinics. I have one on salsa that's going to be happening June 9th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And that's just going to be a class targeted specifically to salsa and how to can it properly. And then we have one on July 23rd for drying. And then on September 10th, we'll be doing pickles. So, all of these are areas that I get a lot of questions on, and so I thought it might be nice to do a targeted clinic for people to come to and get information and learn how to do it.
Well, Grace, I certainly, again, want to thank you for taking the time, and God's blessings to the little one. I hope they feel better. And thank you on behalf of you being the Cassia County Extension Educator. Thank you for coming on the program, and we'll have you back again in the near future. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Deb.
Thank you. Take care. Very interesting, and a lot of people involved in home food storage, canning, and in case there is a rainy day on the horizon to where all of a sudden we can't get food and water, we've got it right there in our homes, and how to take care of ourselves. And I thank Grace Whitman from the Cassia County Extension Office for being on the program this morning. Got to have a weather forecast right now. Michael Rogers' weather is brought to you this hour by Scarro's Meats, 3:30 331 North Road in Jerome. Oh, my goodness sakes. They've been serving southern Idaho for over 20 years, offering quality products at reasonable rates. Expert meat cutting, and they have their own smokehouse. Oh, boy, I'll tell you what. Selling taste, one bite at a time. Scarro's Meats in Jerome. You bet. Here's Michael Rogers Weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers for MichaelRogersWeather.com. Got a mess for today. You're on the backside of a cold front. What does that mean? Well, temperatures are cooler. All the weather action is taking place on the backside. And, oh, by the way, yes, you got wind with that. So you're going to see rain for much of the day and also for tonight. You come out of it tomorrow, and temperatures are going to be warmer. It's 54 for the high today. Right around the upper 30s, mid-40s for the overnight low, and then sunny clouds tomorrow, 63 for the high. Traveling today, southbound, U.S. Highway 93. You can expect to run in the snow starting from Wells all the way down to Ely and also all the way down toward Alamo, Nevada. Be careful today. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Brought to you again by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road in Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. They've been in business over 20 years. Quality meat products, selling taste, one bite at a time. Oh, my goodness, calls are welcome and appreciated. Give me a jingle if you've got anything to talk about for the remainder of the program. The number, again, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call that I'm sure is coming in, don't forget Best Tire Value Promise. With your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations. Free lifetime tire and mileage care. That's right, free flat tire repairs, free tire rotations, free tire rebalancing, free air checks, free brake and alignment checks. My goodness, they take care of you with the best in tires and the best in service. And don't forget they've got easy credit plans, the best in brake service and front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. It's all there at every one of the 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, my goodness sakes. As I said, tomorrow's going to be a big day. We've got a lot of activity planned. Gina, in case of an emergency, you're into home canning and all that, aren't you?
Yeah.
You even sent me some stuff. I can't remember exactly everything you sent, but you do a good job of canning. Where'd you learn how to do that? Your mom?
My mom.
I see.
Growing up.
So you're kind of an old backwoods gal that can take care of herself. You can go out and shoot the bear, clean the bear, de-hide the bear, and you're ready for the bear.
I'm ready for the bear, and I'll even tan the hide as well if I have to.
Really?
Sure, why not?
So besides being a Daniel, not a Daniel Boone, but a Mrs. Daniel Boone, you're also an expert auto mechanic. Is there anything you can't do?
No, there's nothing that I can't do. If I set my mind to it, I can get it done.
I like your attitude.
Hey. I sent you a text message, but Al had called in. Apparently he was driving on Highway 30. So for everybody who's driving on Highway 30, please be careful. Because of all of the rain and everything, there's some standing water in the dips, and it almost took him off the road. So please be careful of the roadways.
You know what?
The rain today.
That's a good tip. And believe me, there are some little pockets, if you will, on Highway 30 when they fill up with water. Very, very dangerous.
Very dangerous. And Al called in and he's like, Gina, let everybody know that. So
okay.
You have it. One little weather tip from Mr. Al Butler.
You know, we need the rain, but I really want to see some 80-degree days and sunshine. I'm getting spoiled for some good weather.
I know. We do need the rain, but come on. All of it, all at once, no bueno.
Anyway, tomorrow on the program, Gina, we've got Doug Johnson, our old buddy from Colorado. We've got attorney Gail Trotter going to be on the phone with us tomorrow. And Casey Givens is going to be with us. Dave Bego's going to be with us. And we just had a call just a few moments ago from Joe Messina, and he went, oops.
Yeah. Oops is all he had to say.
I told him that there are 27 Ubangi warriors outside his door with bones in their noses ready to take him and tie him to a tree.
Can we make some goulash out of him or something?
I don't know, but he felt really bad, and he says he'd like to reschedule it another time, and I said I'd let him do that.
Okay.
I really don't have anything more today, except that I've got a full plate on my schedule as far as taking care of a bunch of paperwork today, and we just wish everybody has a great day. We'll be back here again tomorrow morning at 8:06, start things off for another 3-hour stint on Zeb at the Ranch, and we certainly appreciate you tuning in to K-Bar, 12:30 a.m., and then, of course, streaming live. And I want to mention this, too. We are getting a lot of people that are listening on the computer, zebbell.com, and also signing up for our cow pies and coffee cups. We have thousands and thousands of people, literally, all across the United States that are getting my cow pies and coffee cups. If you want to get it, send your name and address to zebattheranch@hotmail.com, zebattheranch@hotmail.com, and we'll put your name on the mailing list, okay? Cow pies and coffee cups. It's really taken off. Thank you so much. I'm gone. Bye.
Okay.
Have a good day. See you tomorrow.
Okay.